Part 85. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 846. Chapter 842. On the 28th day of the 12th lunar month, Yates was sitting on the sofa. The plaster was still on his left leg, but his right leg had recovered. The left leg still needed about 2 months to grow. Yushasai was writing on Yates's plaster leg. Painting, Cai Kinghu pointed at the 2 tablets on the table. This is what she lost to Yates. In the yard, Huan and Rottweiler were rolling in the snow. The dogs got along very well. Doberman had been sitting outside the door of the house watching Yates. No one wanted to let him in. He chose not to come in. The old man who likes cats and dogs, goldfish and flowers, likes Doberman very much. Son, look. This is what a dog should be like, loyal, energetic and calm. The old man likes things that are free and easy, whether they are people or dogs. He doesn't like the silly Rottweiler, nor the chubby Kexan and his nephew. If not warm, the old man likes Yan Kinking's free and easy things. Personality, I don't really like to sing nursery rhymes slowly. Han Qian stood by the pool and said calmly. Why don't you try throwing a plastic bag? Don't underestimate the Rottweiler playing with Huan. It's really stronger than the Doberman. When you get familiar with it, you can take them hunting in the mountains. Hey! There is a hunting garden in Yashai Pavilion. Are there any wild boars weighing more than 600 pounds? Can you please stop bragging? It's still 600 pounds. Last time, we almost lost a little over 300 pounds in the hunting park. Han Qian looked at the old man with disgust. The old man threw down the last handful of fish food, and then shouted to Qian's mother who was sunbathing at the door. Damn it, my son, did I catch a wild boar for you when our son was just born? Qian's mother tilted her head and whispered. It was indeed caught. If our son doesn't believe it, tell him how big the wild boar is. 600 to 700 catties, right? A lot of wild boar meat was sent out at that time. After saying that, Qian's mother turned to look at her daughter-in-law sitting next to her and said softly. It doesn't taste good, it's hard. It's fishy. Mom won't lie to you. The warm eyes dimmed. The old man looked at Han Qian provocatively and sneered. Do you think I'm bragging to you? I played with those bows and arrows in your Yezai pavilion twice. Do you want to ask Yayetu if she broke one? My son, you don't have to surpass me physically in this life. If you can be half as good as me, I'll be satisfied. Han Qian held his chin with one hand and looked at the old man in a circle. Huh? Old man, did you grow up eating food? Then the old man stood on the edge of the pond holding his son's collar and waistband. Han Qian dropped his hands weakly and gave up the struggle. Don't beg, don't apologize. He said this to his father, but you just have to see if he can bear to throw his own son into the water. Cai Kinghu stood in front of the window and looked at the scene of father is kind and son is filial. He held his arms and whispered softly. It's a miracle that my husband-in-law can live for so long. Suddenly I think about it, it seems that my father has never hit me. My dad beat me, so I didn't talk to him, not a word. Yushasai suddenly spoke. Cai Kinghu sighed and turned around. Then he saw that Yates's bandaged leg had been covered with Yushasai's paintings. This female gangster had very good painting skills. For a while, Yates's bandaged leg was covered with paintings. There was a big red carp on his leg, which looked like a tattoo at first glance. Yushasai looked at his masterpiece, and then sighed. I've always wanted to get a tattoo, but I didn't want to get one. Cai whopping, let me draw you a Mickey Mouse? Forget it, your Bobo is too young, teacher Tong. Roll. The nursery rhyme was whispered, and Yushasai was not angry and continued to paint on Yates' legs. At this time, there was a burst of laughter in the yard. Cai King Hu turned around and took a look, and then said, "If you are too lazy to talk, you can go back to your room now, the New Year greeters are here." Yu Shisai was the first to stand up and helped Yates back to the room. Tong Yao thought about it and got up to go to the kitchen to prepare fruits and make tea. Cai King Hu looked at Yan Qingqing, and Yan Qingqing looked at Cai King Hu. Neither of them went back to the room. Meaning, not only that, the two of them walked towards the yard at the same time. Warm, Yan Qingqing, Cai King Hu. These three young ancestors all regard themselves as the mistress of the family besides Qian's mother. Their competition is everywhere. When the two went out, Nuan ran back to the room. Yan Qingqing looked at the people standing at the door of the courtyard and took a deep breath. Why is she such a loser? Cai King Hu helped Qian's mother stand up and ignored Yan Qingqing, muttering to herself, "Why should I ask? It's not just a day or two that Wen Nuan has social disorder." The group of four at the entrance of the courtyard were carrying various gift boxes with their own hands. Han Qian stood in the small red brick courtyard, scratching his head and laughing. "I won't talk about Si Guan and Vice President Wei, Lao Luo, why are you two bringing gifts?" Luo Shanda ignored Han Qian, trotted up to Qian's mother, and smiled. "Madam, are you feeling well?" Qian's mother smiled. "Very good. Don't bring gifts next time. Come inside." Yan Qingqing reached out and took the gifts from Luo Shanda and Lu Guangming. Qian's mother invited everyone into the house to drink tea. Fortunately, it was a house. Fortunately, the living room was big enough. Wu Sijuan walked in, took off his cotton-padded jacket and went to the kitchen to help nursery rhymes. He didn't care at all. "Treat yourself as a guest." Lu Guangming and Luo Shanda were sitting on the sofa chatting with Qian's mother. They were both good people and made Qian's mother very happy. The old man, who was not good at words, just said one sentence: "Stay for lunch and then leave." No one refused. Gao Jishi rolled up his sleeves and followed the old man to the kitchen. The foursome admired the old man so much that they were shot in the arm and stabbed in the lower abdomen. After the operation, they walked out of the operating room by themselves. I used to think that Han Qian was a man enough, but compared to him, I suddenly felt that Han Qian was so immature. None of the four brought their families, maybe because they didn't want to make Wu Siquan feel uncomfortable, or maybe there were other reasons. In short, these four guys were inseparable now, Han Qian thought as he sat on the threshold. If there was a quarrel one day, would the four of them quarrel with him at the same time? Han Qian dragged his chin and looked at the door. Most of the people who should come will come today. It is estimated that Cheng Jin and Li Jinhai will not come. They are waiting for Han Qian to come back. As he was thinking, the sound of mahjong machines rang in the living room. Luo Shanda and Lu Guangming he took Qian's mother and started playing mahjong, playing nursery rhymes. Yan Qingqing and Cai King Hu are two idiots. Then seeing Wu Siquan going to the kitchen, Han Qian said, "What are you doing in the kitchen, little girl? Come here, I'll talk to you about something." After saying this, Wu Sijuan patted the doorstep and sat next to Han Qian, taking the initiative to speak. "I heard about it. Don't blame me. No. You have your own intentions and plans, and I'm not that pretentious. It's all because of your support that I can get to this day." "Me, he. Wu Siquan raised his head and smiled innocently. Just as Han Qian was about to speak, another guest came. Han Qian pressed Wu Siquan's shoulder and stood up, saying softly, "Go back to the house and play." Wu Siquan stood up and returned to the room. As soon as Han Qian took a step, Yan Qingqing appeared beside Han Qian and asked in a low voice what Han Qian and Wu Siquan were talking about. Han Qian laughed and stretched out his hand to pinch Yan Qingqing's nose. Wei Ju and Yang Dajin came. Neither of them had their families with them. Wei Ju took two gift boxes and said seriously, Brothers and sisters. These 2 ginsengs will replenish the health of uncle and aunt. Since they can be given away, these 2 gadgets will not be cheap. Yang Daijin held 2 foam boxes and smiled. I'll bring some of what I have at home. Yan Qingqing took the ginseng and asked curiously. What's in here? It's mysterious. Yang Daijin smiled. Blue crab. After saying this, Yan Qingqing turned around and shouted loudly. Nuan Nuan, Boss Yang has brought you crabs. Nuan Nuan sat in front of the window and debated whether to go out and get it, but finally held back. Yu Shisai reluctantly walked to the yard and took over 2 boxes of blue crabs. Han Qian smiled and chatted with the 2 of them standing in the yard. Sudden. Wei Ju and Yang Daijin turned around at the same time. Han Qian looked at the warmth jumping out of the window. He was extremely embarrassed. Han Qian covered his face and whispered. Accident. Accident. That's what she does to crabs. Yang Daijin chuckled. Like eating crabs? We don't lack them at home, but eating too much crabs is not good for your health. Don't call me stingy. Why? Han Qian sighed helplessly, when Nuan really had to control himself. The old man and Wei Tiancheng cooked a large table of delicious food. Among the girls, only Yan Qingqing and Cai Qinghe came to the table. The rest ate at the small dining table in the west room. Qian's mother dotes on a few girls, but there are rules. We can't all go to the table and grab the food with the guests, right? Drinking wine and chatting, it was already 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon when they left. Han Qian and the old man were cleaning up and putting away the dishes. When Tong Yao wanted to take action, Qianer stopped him. Tong Tong, you go watch TV or take a nap. In winter, the water is cold, so just let them clean up. If you are not full, let Han Qian buy you some snacks. Nursery rhyme made Qianer's mother smile, and then she and several girls started to make a list. When Han Qian looked at the snacks on the A4 paper slowly overnight, he reluctantly picked up his clothes and went out. He really needed to prepare some snacks and drinks. After Han Qian left, the old man stood outside the window sharpening his knife. Hearing the sound of sharpening, Wen Nuan looked very excited, and Yan Qingqing frowned. Are you excited after eating a crab? Yangsu, you don't understand. Dad is going to kill the chickens. There are little chickens walking all over the floor, hee hee. From tomorrow to the 5th day of the first lunar month, Dad will cook in different ways, especially the little hens. It won't be the same again. After the words fell, Wen Nuan suddenly became a little disappointed and whispered. I used to be the little princess during the New Year celebrations at Han Qian's house. Now it's so annoying when you come over and cause trouble. Then he shouted out the window. Dad, I want to eat Cai Qinghe stewed Yan Qingqing. Yates stir-fried you poems, steamed jijing, and braised nursery rhymes. The old man was slightly stunned after hearing this, and then smiled bitterly. Daughter, this is impossible. While selecting snacks in the supermarket, Han Qian received a call from Sul Yang. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, this bitch Lu Nier landed. I found out that the mixed-race man is called Yukai. His father is the owner of the largest swimsuit factory in Ben County. This swimsuit factory specializes in exporting to foreign countries, and its capital is slightly less than that of the richest woman. Son. Han Qian frowned, nodded, and whispered. You must have something else you haven't told me, right? Lu Nier and Yukai are making a plane. This Yukai is just pursuing Lu Nier. Now Lu Nier is a little shaken, but it still depends on Big Dog's attitude. Also, Big Dog was beaten in Great Britain. It seems like this is Yukai's best friend, he went abroad earlier than you debuted. Tell Big Dog to go to the airport tomorrow and wait. How the hell do you know such details? Well, I found Lu Nier's mobile phone number. I asked a professional escort. Of course Luner didn't know about the big dog getting beaten. Then you're giving me a surprise. Lee Dahai is in Binhai and has already been in contact with the Lin family. You're a humming spy. You're right. I spent all the money you gave me to buy this information. I think it will be useful to you. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian called Qian Ling. Auntie, I want to transfer some money to Sul Yang. Qian Ling didn't look surprised at all, and laughed. Are you enlightened? I have already prepared this money for you, Qian. Money is also needed to strengthen relationships when maintaining them. Just because you don't like money doesn't mean that others are not short of money. Auntie, how much do you want to turn? Don't worry about it. At 6 o'clock in the evening, Li's mobile phone received a bank text message, remitting a debt of 888,888 yuan. Li rolled off the bed and fell to the ground in excitement, and shouted. Husband, I don't know who transferred more than 800,000 yuan to me. At this time, Sul Yang was standing on the balcony smoking a cigarette and reading text messages on his phone. 3 million. Sul Yang was not polite. He knew who transferred the money to him, or that Director Qian had already prepared it. Sul Yang suddenly felt a little lucky. Fortunately, he went to Qian Ling's house yesterday to pay New Year greetings. If he made money, he would go again. That would change the taste. Hey. Sul Yang put it away and exclaimed to Li. Wow, let me see, it's my wife's suitor. The mother of the child won't let him go. Qian Ling sneezed. 2 updates, 7,300 words. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 847. Chapter 843. The 29th day of the 12th lunar month can be said to be the busiest day, but Han Qian and Sul Yang put down everything they were doing and found a tea house. They have been sitting here since early in the morning and drank 3 pots of tea. Han Qian's lips were worn out, and his throat was dry. He basically told everything about when he met Guan Yunbiao. The final summary is only 2 words. Nonsense. Guan Degu kept looking at the clock hanging on the wall. At 12 o'clock, Guan Yunbiao stood up and laughed softly. Qian Liang what are you two doing? I've been drinking tea all morning and I can't drink it anymore. I have something to do over there. Today we, the younger brothers, are going to serve tea to my master. When he was about to leave, Han Qian stood up and laughed softly. Let's chat for a while. I'll explain it to Boss Tuesday. Qian I'll serve you tea when I go back, and then I'll go home to pay New Year's greetings in the evening, okay? Han Qian scratched his head, his face full of tangles, and Sul Yang, who had been silent, spoke. Luner has 1 hour to get off the plane. Sul Yang was not as tactful as Han Qian. Guan Yunbiao was slightly stunned after hearing this, then scratched his head and laughed. I know. She called me and told me that she would return to China today. I also said that I was not in Binhai and returned to my hometown with my children. Han Qian didn't understand. He tilted his head and looked at Guan Yunbiao with doubts on his face. Why did he say that? Didn't Luner say nothing? When Han Qian was confused, Sul Yang picked up the teacup and blew on it and said calmly. Big dog, do you have low self-esteem? Do you think you are not worthy of Luner? Do you think you are a gangster who went to jail and was shaved bald, and you are not worthy of a girl studying at the British Academy of Music? Guan Yunbiao scratched his head again and smiled awkwardly. No way, I just feel that the two of us will have nothing in common in the future, and then let Luner lie on the bed with that mixed race guy, and use the corneas you bought with money to look at the man venting his desires on her, big dog. Your selfless spirit really impresses me. I admire you. Han Qian turned his head and looked at Sul Yang with a frown and said angrily. What are you talking about? You don't think Huo is big enough? Su Liang replied with a sneer. Fire? You see who has fire? He pretends to be generous and free and easy to give others freedom, but he doesn't know that while he is sleeping with a mixed race, he is calling him a coward for not going to the airport, right? Then I'm going home, Han Qian, you go home too. If the emperor is not in a hurry, why should we eunuchs be in a hurry? After saying that, Su Liang stood up, put his arm around Han Qian's shoulders and went downstairs. After putting Han Qian into the car, Su Liang started the car and left the tea house. Guan Yunbiao, who stayed on the second floor, stood there blankly. In the car, Han Qian glared at Su Liang angrily while holding a cigarette in his mouth. He's already in a bad mood right now. Look what you said. If you don't stimulate him, will you feel unhappy? Su Liang, who was driving the car, frowned. Shut up. Everything has to be discussed. Now Guan Yunbiao still thinks that he is quite cool. Why don't you irritate him and irritate you? Now Lu Nier is also very confused. She has long known the relationship between her and Digo. It was a last-minute thing, so much money was spent, so much care was taken, and then he suddenly became impotent. Han Qian frowned and whispered. Your metaphor is inappropriate. Shut up. Now is not the time for you to play with your plots and trick people to go to the airport. Doesn't the humming big dog not go to the airport just because he doesn't want to cause trouble for you? You don't have a clear mind at all, Yan. Are they all blind? Why do they fall in love with you? After being scolded by Su Liang, Han Qian didn't dare to say anything. Han Qian always behaved very cowardly with the people around him. Afraid of being beaten, afraid of pain. Han Qian lowered his head and looked at his phone. The slow look made Su Liang a little anxious. He parked the car, opened the door, and threw Han Qian into the driver's seat. Then he took out his phone and started making calls. In Su Liang's words, a big fart would be troublesome. Is Han Qian in less trouble? Missing this one? What kind of tricks can a guy from Ben County come up with? I don't believe he dared to throw money into the abyss of Linmend. Su Liang knew everything about Han Qian's plan, and he was also the one who knew it best. He drove slowly and leisurely to the airport. Before getting off the car, Han Qian saw the people standing at the entrance of the airport. Su Liang handed the car key to the waiter who specially parked here, and then dragged Han Qian's arm forward. A group of 4, Tu Xiao, Wu Qingxi, Cai Qinghu, Wei Zhu Yang Dajin. These people are the strongest strength behind Han Qian. Han Qian smiled at everyone and was about to speak when Lu Guangming spoke first. I heard that boss Tu said something about Biozi, brother Han. You should have said this earlier. Han Qian scratched his head and said softly. Actually, I don't know what to do. Liang wants him to tell me, and I'll do it. Lu Guangming chuckled, stepped forward, put his arm around Su Liang's shoulders and smiled. Liang come to my brother's company someday? It's definitely more comfortable than honor. Su Liang glanced at the time and saw that there were still 10 minutes until 1 o'clock. He smiled. People at the airport gate all looked over. What are they doing? Rob the airport? Probably not. When she was greeting everyone and walking into the lobby, a Mercedes-Benz stopped at the entrance of the airport. Qian Ling got out of the car, ignored everyone present, picked up the bag in her hand and hit Han Qian on the back. He didn't even dare to hide, he lowered his head, touched and endured. Qian Ling said angrily in a low voice. I will wait for you to finish your work after the new year, and I will give you a good class. Everyone walked into the airport lobby and gathered together to chat. Han Qian was still a little worried. He pulled Su Liang and asked what he should say when he saw Lunir. Su Liang pushed Han Qian away and said calmly. There's no need for us to open our mouths. If nothing else happens, the big dog should already be waiting at the exit. Han Qian stopped talking. Sometimes he really couldn't compare to Sul Yang. Gao Juxing and Wei Ju were chatting about investment. Recently, Wei Ju had been wanting to talk to Han Qian about investing in the villa. Unfortunately, Yates was never in Binhai. It is completely useless to look for Han Qian and Wen Nuan. While chatting, another group of people came to the main entrance of the airport. There were 8 or 9 people, men, women, old, and young. They were well dressed and jeweled. From their dress and temperament, they looked like they were not ordinary people. Lu Guangming looked at a few people and curled his lips and said softly, "The nouveau riche in Ben County, the swimsuits supported by the Yeomanmen have made them a lot of money. The gold chain looks like a dog leash. I can't even look at it and talk to them." Gao Xingcheng chuckled. "It's rare to hear something from your mouth that makes me agree. The nouveau riche in Ben County all have their eyes set on the top. They buy villas, mansions, sports cars, and yachts all the time. They don't know where to find a place to study." Luo Shanda said immediately. "It looks smooth on the surface. When a meeting is held at the Yamen Gate, only 1 or 2 of the hundreds of swimwear factories in Ben County can go." Everyone commented on these nouveau riche, and these people also found Han Qian's side. Yu Zhen waved to Han Qian. Ever since he was ignored when he talked to him at the door of the station last time, Yu Zhen no longer had a good impression of Han Qian. "And don't want to get in touch. Because there will be no financial transactions between them." Han Qian noticed the blonde foreign woman, frowned slightly and whispered, "That Yu Kai is Yu Zhen's son." Sul Yang shrugged and said calmly, "Congratulations, you guessed it correctly." Cai Qinghu on the side looked at Yu Zhen's group of people with disdain, lowered his head and cursed softly. "After checking the family assets, it's only 5 or 6 billion, a bunch of poor people." This sentence hurt everyone present. They all looked at Madame Cai. The latter covered her mouth belatedly and looked a little embarrassed. Tu Xiao approached Han Qian curiously and asked softly, "Qianer, how much money does Madame Cai have?" Han Qian frowned, scratched his head, and spoke with a somewhat skeptical tone. "It should have been a little more than double that of Yu Zhen last year. It may be more now. I haven't asked. Anyway, when she and Mr. Yan quarreled, she said she wanted to buy out the shares held by my aunt and Vice President Gao, and then go bully Yan Qingqing. Han Qian really doesn't know how much money Cai Qinghu has. I'm afraid she knows it herself. In her words, if she doesn't do anything in her life, she can change her villa for 300 to 400 years. When the time came to 1 o'clock, Han Qian looked at the exit. Someone had already come out. Everyone was waiting for Lu Nier quietly. If she left with the Yu family today, Han Qian and Sul Yang would never let her go. People kept coming out of the crowd, and Han Qian waited with his arms crossed. Sudden. He saw a familiar figure. Why is Li Er here? When he saw the man next to Li Er who was almost carved from the same mold as him and the blonde foreign girl, Han Qian was slightly startled. Li Duokang? Li Jinhai's eldest son? Han Qian turned around quickly. He didn't want to meet Li Jinhai's 2 children on this occasion, but unfortunately he was still a step too late. "Brother-in-law!" Li Duoli yelled at Han Qian, then pulled Li Duokang and ran over. Now that he was discovered, Han Qian could no longer hide. He turned around and smiled at Li Duokang. "Third brother, come back." Li Duo grew up like a scholar. He wore a slim suit and a pair of gold frames. He looked Han Qian up and down, stretched out his hand and patted Han Qian on the shoulder, smiling. "Brother-in-law, is this the first time we've met?" Han Qian slowly raised his hand to make a gesture, and Li Duokang said doubtfully, "The second time? I." At this moment, there was a loud noise from the exit of the airport. Han Qian and Sul Yang hurriedly ran over, and the people behind them followed closely. Li Duokeng could guess that something had happened at a glance, and raised his hand. He handed the contents to Li Duoli and said softly, "Take your sister-in-law and your nephew home first, and I'll go check on Xiao Qian." The two rushed into the crowd and heard a very clear voice. "Brother Kai, this is my boyfriend Guan Yunbiao." After rushing through the crowd, the two of them were stunned. They saw a very clear lip print on Guan Yunbiao's smooth head. Lunir held Guan Yunbiao's arm and smiled like a bright flower. The faces of the Yu family were extremely ugly. The handsome mixed-race man, who was 1.9 meters tall, looked at Guan Yunbiao with angry eyes and roared in a low voice. "Lu Nier, if you want to reject me, please find a better reason." At this time, a young man of 18 or 19 years old in the Yu family group spoke up and shouted in a sharp voice. "I know him, Guan Daegu from District 8. He is married and his children are in elementary school." The onlookers pointed at Guan Yunbiao and started talking, but Lunir hugged Guan Yunbiao's arm tighter, looked at Yukai with a pair of bright eyes, and said with a naive smile, "I know he is married, but I like him." As he finished speaking, he kissed Guan Yunbiao's smooth and reflective head again, and the sharp voice in the Yu family crowd rang out again. "You stinky, shameless mistress. What the hell are you doing? Are you trying to get me to do something about my uncle's housework? Yutai, I haven't hit you for half a humming year, right?" I saw Li Duoli rushing out from the crowd, rushing into the crowd of Yu's house, and directly riding on the sharp-sounding Yutai. The mixed-race Yukai was furious. "I don't know who you are. If you hit my brother, I..." A figure appeared in front of Yukai, took off his gold-rimmed glasses and said calmly, "You have a younger brother, and my younger brother also has an elder brother. My name is Li Duokeng, and my father is a minor official in Binhai." Yukai raised his fist and was about to take action. Li Duokeng picked up his glasses, put them to his mouth, and said calmly, "Li Jinhai from the Municipal Bureau is also named Li. He calls me son, but I don't call him dad." The fist was only 2 inches away from Li Duokeng's nose. Li Duokeng was as elegant as an ancient scholar. The girls at the airport who were originally attracted to Kai Feng suddenly changed their crush. This Li Duokeng is the talent of our Greater China, with his protective aura, his indifference in the face of danger, his black eyes, black hair, and fair face. Han Qian looked at Li Duokeng and was a little dazed. Wu Qingxi whispered from the side, "Why is the gap between brothers so big?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 848. Chapter 844. Li Duokeng smiled kindly at Yukai, turned to Li Duoli, who was still violent, and said lightly, "If you don't stop, I will ask your brother-in-law to beat you." Li Duoli's body trembled, and he quickly got up and returned to his brother. At this time, his face was also stained. He was about the same age and had the same build. Even if he got an advantage, he wouldn't get much. Li Duokeng smiled softly at Yu Zhen. "I will bring this ignorant brother to the door later to apologize, but now is not the time." After saying that, he turned to look at Han Qian. The Yu family also found a group of people led by Qian Ling. Han Qian lowered his head and looked at his toes. As for Sul Yang, he had already stepped forward to greet Lunir. "My surname is Suming Liang, one of Guan Yunbiao's friends." Lu Nier stretched out her white hand, narrowed her eyes and smiled. "I heard the big dog talk about you." Sul Yang stretched out his hand and shook Lu Nier's hand before saying, "I'm sorry. I misunderstood you not long ago. I apologize to you. Big Dog went to London to see you, but something unpleasant happened and you didn't meet. Don't blame him. Lu Nier was stunned for a moment, turned to look at Guan Yunbiao, with a bit of confusion and distress in his eyes, then turned to look at Yu Kai, and said again. Brother Kai, I told you a long time ago that I have a boyfriend. Thank you for sending me home when I injured my ankle. I put the money in your mailbox. Thank you for your support over the past 6 months. I take care of you. I can't bear the pain of missing you. My boyfriend gave me a pair of eyes, which gave me the opportunity to appreciate the colorful world, but I haven't had time to appreciate the great mountains and rivers of our motherland. I've already done that. Drop out of school and get to know each other. Thank you for your respect. Lu Nier will remember it in my heart. Goodbye. Never see you again. There was no emotion in Lu Nier's eyes when she looked at Yu Kai, but when she turned to look at Guan Yunbiao's bald head, her eyes turned into crescent moons. She held her head like a light bulb and breathed a sigh of relief, then picked up her sleeves and wiped it. Wipe. His face was full of mischief, and his eyes were full of happiness and love. She likes Guan Daegu. Although he is not handsome, uneducated, and not a straight man who doesn't understand styles, she will never forget his kindness to her. She remembers that when she could not see the world, he used the gentlest words around her. And the humblest voice asked him. Your hands are so beautiful, they must be suitable for playing the piano. She nodded in agreement, and within an hour, a piano was carried to the living room. A professional teacher came to the house to teach her step by step. He sat next to her and watched quietly, without saying a word, even breathing carefully. She knew that, so she wanted to learn music, not to perform for others, but to tell him that she would keep everything he said in mind. I also remember that when she could see the beautiful world for the first time, he escaped from the hospital and did not dare to show his face, fearing that he would be disliked and let her down. But she still liked it. Eyes are important, but the heart is the only thing a living person cannot control. When can time downplay everything? Time will only make her want to return home sooner. What kind of distance creates a barrier? Distance is the fuel for her to work hard, and it also allows her to experience the pain of separation and the joy of meeting. Everything was Guan Yunbiao's own thought. She had no illusions about Kai. She didn't trust the person Suliang found to accompany him. Yu Kai had some abilities in London. She couldn't put herself in danger. Don't let people worry, everything is just to stabilize Yu Kai. These were also learned from Guan Yunbiao. Guan Yunbiao stood stupidly at the exit and let Lu Nier rub his head. At this time someone in the crowd spoke. Xiao Nier, come here and let me see if I'm fat or beautiful. Lu Nier was very happy when she heard Cai Qinghu's voice. Cai Qinghu was always by her side when she was in the hospital. Happy and sad at the same time. The Yu family was very dissatisfied with everything that happened. The eldest son was humiliated in public, and the younger son was beaten by Li Jinhai's second son while his face was covered with blood. Yu Zhen was also a well-known figure in Binhai. Of course, he is the one who claims to be famous. Everyone in Bin County may know him, but there are really not many people in Binhai who know Yu Zhen. Yu Zhen's face turned livid, he took a step forward and said angrily to Lu Nier. Little girl, you are playing with my son's feelings like this, and you can just say never to see me again. Lu Nier turned around and looked at Yu Zhen with his head tilted. Just as Guan Yunbiao was about to speak, Tu Xiao, dressed in a tang suit, walked out of the crowd and said calmly. Xiao Nier was my younger brother and sister-in-law before he went abroad. I didn't question your poaching son. Now you are questioning my younger brother and sister. Yu Zhen tilted his head and said coldly to Tu Xiao. Boss Tu, I admit that you have some abilities in Binhai District 8, but you think you are awesome in the whole Binhai area, but in my eyes you are just a ruffian. Let me tell you, money is the last word. The Lord humiliates his ministers to death. Guan Yunbiao was about to take action, but Tu Xiao raised his crutch to stop Guandegu and smiled at Yu Zhen. Haha, Yu Zhen. I admit that you are very rich, but what next? If NIER doesn't explain to you today, what can you do? Rob someone? Report him to the official. After finishing her words, Qian Ling sarcastically said. You don't know how high the sky is when you have too lousy money? Just be quiet and your swimsuit factory can still survive. After saying this, Cai Qinghu, who was holding Lunaire, looked at Yu Zhen and tilted his head. How much money do you have? 500 million? 1 billion? You have the nerve to brag about this little money. Is it the last word? Which bank's VIP? Tell me and I'll listen. I'll double the amount you save. Let the bank return the money to you. Someone in the Yu family crowd spoke. You're bragging about not drafting? Where did you come from? Cai Qinghu chuckled. Second Provincial Prosecutor Cai Qinghu, do you want me to find out where you came from? There was no need for Han Qian to speak. Tu Xiao and Qian Ling could make Yu Zhen helpless. With the addition of a provincial second-level prosecutor, he really didn't dare to offend him. Yu Zhen pointed at Lu Nier and left. The next fierce look was followed by a cold voice. Your parents open a small restaurant in front of the station, right? After saying this, the expressions of Lunaire and Guandegu changed. Yu Zhen turned around with a sneer, looked at Li Duokeng and said lightly. The eunuch's house should pay attention to the influence. I will bring Xiao Tai to visit. Li Duokeng narrowed his eyes and smiled. Sorry, it's Chinese New Year. We are closed to welcome guests. Li Duokeng didn't pay attention to the Yu family at all. Just as they were about to leave, Han Qian, who had never spoken before, spoke up. It seems I haven't let you go yet, right? Hearing Han Qian's voice, everyone in the Yu family trembled. Yu Zhen's face was livid, he gritted his teeth and took another step, and then Han Qian's voice came from behind again. We haven't talked about my brother being beaten up by a group of gangsters in London yet, Yu Zhen. You are old, I won't stop you, but everyone in your family who is over 3 years old and under 40 should not leave yet. Yu Zhen turned around and glared at Han Qian, saying angrily. Young Master Han, do you really want to show off your face? You have made countless enemies in Binhai. Do you really want to make your road narrower? Han Qian put his arm around Weiju's shoulders, leaned forward slightly, and smiled. You said, it's just an inch. When the road is narrow, just widen it. Just throw the stones blocking the road into the river. You can go. I won't stop you when you are older. The rest will be taken away. That what's you Tai, right? My brother-in-law can hit you, but it's wrong for you to fight back. Xiao beat him. Li Duoli smiled, while Li Duokeng shook his head with a helpless smile, but did not stop him. Li Duoli geared up and walked towards Yu Tai, smiling evilly. Crow. You're crowing with the voice of your rooster. I just like to beat up dudes, the second dude in Ben County, right? Yu Zhen took a step forward, pulled Yu Tai behind him, and roared at Han Qian. Han Qian, is there any Wangfa left in Binhai? Wangfa? I am the Humming King. Snapped. A slap fell on the back of Han Qian's head. If he hadn't been hugging Weiju, Han Qian would have fallen to the ground. Han Qian covered the back of his head with his hands, gritted his teeth and stood up. Who the hell is hitting me when I'm showing off? When he turned around and looked at the people behind him, Han Qian instantly turned into a gentle cat and smiled. Oops! Why are you still in Binhai? Lao Gu glanced at Han Qian, then glanced at everyone at the airport. When he saw blood on Li Duoli's face, Lao Gu slapped Han Qian on the shoulder and frowned. How can you say that he is also his brother-in-law, and you are here to watch the fight? Han Qian, when you are done, go to the capital and squat for me. And what did you just say? Who is Wang Fa? You, you, you are Wang Fa, okay. This is really not strange. I don't have time to listen to your ramblings. I'm too lazy to care about you because of your petty troubles. Tell Li Jinhai to educate his son well. Sun Jianmin, you can handle it. I'll catch a flight back to the capital. Lao Gu strode towards the boarding gate. After walking a dozen steps, he turned around and shouted to Han Qian. Are you going to the capital during the first lunar month? Han Qian scratched his head and wondered. How do you know? I'm around the 7th day of the Lunar New Year. If I don't have time on the 7th day of the Lunar New Year, I have to go on the 15th day. Call me when you get there. Be more honest in Binhai. Okay, bye, Uncle Gu. Seeing Lao Gu disappear into the crowd, Han Qian turned his head to look at Sun Jianmin and frowned. Why don't you leave even though he's gone? Hurry up and leave. I'm waiting to take care of my family. Damn it, my brother went to London to see his wife, but she didn't see her getting beaten with a stick. I can't swallow this anger. Sun Jianmin squinted at Han Qian, and then glanced at Yu Zhen, who looked angry. Sun Jianmin sighed, patted Han Qian on the shoulder, and said don't fight. Then he took his secretary to catch a plane back to the provincial capital. This made the family members dumbfounded. Although they didn't know the man named Gu, they saw that Sun Jianmin was following behind him, and he was also a big boss in the capital. They thought Sun Jianmin would scold Han Qian, but he didn't expect to leave with an understatement. And judging from the conversation between the two, it seems that their relationship is not simple. After the two bosses left, Han Qian looked at Yu Zhen with a ferocious face. You are rich, right? My brother was beaten, you pay me the money, and then tell me not to see anyone from your Yu family in Binhai. This matter is over. Don't talk to me about how much it cost. I do not have time. Before he finished speaking, his cell phone rang. Looking at Cheng Jin's number, Han Qian had a headache and turned to Tu Xiao. Boss 2, please discuss the price with Yu Zhen. Anyway, he is not short of money. I have to go. Cheng Jin called me, King Hu, let's go. Han Qian pulled Cai King Hu away from the crowd and pressed the connect button. Cheng Jin's roar came out on the phone. You bastard, what are you doing at the airport? Sun Jianmin's phone call came to me. Go home. I came to the airport just to pick up a friend. You're going to hit Yu Zhen when you pick up your friends. He's almost 60 this year. I didn't beat him, I wanted to beat his son. You said you were picking up a friend. If I see you on the surveillance camera, I'll beat you to death. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian looked at Cai King Hu with a look of grievance. Madam, I was scolded again. Cai King Hu looked at Han Qian and said seriously. Ms. Sir, I want to go buy lipstick. Don't think about it, I won't shave my head. Mr. Sir. Be good, don't make trouble, my husband is going to buy you a New Year's gift. 2 pages of 7,000 words, ah. I misremembered the name, sorry. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 849. I got my name wrong recently. It's very embarrassing. Zhao Yuer has changed her name back to Lu Nier. I'm sorry. Several girls stayed up late at night to watch the local TV station's Spring Festival Gala. Han Qian and the old man hung up lanterns and small lanterns in the yard to prepare for the arrival of the new year. Han Qian was very excited every new year. Traditional people pay great attention to festivals. At 11 o'clock, Han Qian ran into the west room and stood at the door to explain to several girls. You have to get up early tomorrow. Guests usually come in the morning, so you can't just stay in bed. Nuan waved to Han Qian. I know, long-winded. Han Qian turned around and left. Nuan chewed melon seeds and looked at the TV and said softly. You can't take a shower in the first year of junior high school. If you want to take a shower, Do it tonight. Tomorrow will be busier and you won't be willing to move by then. I suggest you go to bed early and get up early tomorrow and the day after. Except for Yates and nursery rhymes, the other girls knew the rules of the house. Cai Kinghu was the first to put on shoes to go to bed and asked when going out. Why hasn't Aunt G come yet? Nursery rhyme lay on the bed and said calmly. She said she didn't like sleeping with others and would come over tomorrow morning. This Bobo lady is very pretentious and untouchable. I pinched her breasts and she washed herself in the bathroom for an hour. The girls were speechless for a while. Jijing was so overly misophobic, she was simply a misophobic, and then nursery rhyme started talking again. Why doesn't she dislike Han Qian? On New Year's Eve, Han Qian crawled out of bed at around 4 in the morning. He yawned and walked out the door. He found that the old man was already busy in the kitchen. He lit a cigarette and stood at the door of the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. Why are you up so early? The old man pointed to the smoking kettle on the stove. Han Qian stepped forward and got some water in the basin. He washed his face and brushed his teeth. The old man handed the towel to his son and said softly, I can't sleep anymore. Get up early and prepare the dishes for today. Go and open the door. Don't set off any firecrackers. Han Qian put on his military coat and muttered something in a low voice. The old man didn't hear clearly and didn't ask any further questions. He continued to prepare the frozen shrimp. 101 pound. These little girls really don't know how expensive food, rice, oil, and salt are. Then he took out the box of blue crabs sent by Yang Dajin and served them carefully, but most of them were dead. After handling the crabs, the old man walked out of the kitchen with his guests and stood by the chicken coop to choose what to eat today. The little hen in the pot. At this time, Han Qian also cleaned the yard and went to the gate. Just when his hand touched the iron gate, a firecracker exploded in the sky. Han Qian was startled, and he murmured something in a low voice and opened the gate. Looking at the white BMW parked at the door and the girl sitting in the driver's seat, Han Qian smiled, stepped forward and opened the door, took the girl's face and kissed her hard. Aunt G, why didn't you call me? Jijing raised her head and smiled naively. I just came here too, and I heard you sweeping the yard. Why did you get up so early? It's not the new year. Pulling Jijing out of the car, Aunt Ji opened the trunk and looked at her beloved man. Han Qian smiled and walked forward, holding the gifts prepared in the trunk in his hands, and then walked into the yard side by side with Jijing. Aunt Ji specially wore a goose yellow down jacket today instead of her favorite white. It was the Chinese New Year and she wanted to dress more festively. Old man, who do you think is coming? The old man holding the kitchen knife turned his head, and when he saw Jijing, he quickly hid the kitchen knife behind his back and said with a smile. Xiaojing is here? Come up to the room quickly. Your aunt is up. Xiaoqian, please send Xiaojing to sit on the bed. It's cold today. The old man took the 2 boxes of crabs from Han Qian's hand. Han Qian didn't eat seafood, but he ate nuan. Jijing also brought nuan. When Jijing walked into the east room, Qian's mother was busy getting up to greet him. Qian's mother liked the girl Jijing very much. She didn't argue or quarrel, and it was quiet. Jijing was sent to the hot kong. Qian's mother was afraid that she would be cold, so she covered her with a small blanket. On Jijing's legs. I wanted Xiaoqian to pick you up just now. Is it cold outside? Jijing smiled. It's not cold. I was worried that you asked Han Qian to pick me up. I was busy at home during the Chinese New Year, so I came here by myself. Qian's mother sat by the kong and held Jijing's hand. She liked him no matter how she looked, she was beautiful, gentle, and sensible. Then she looked at Han Qian. She felt disgusted no matter how she looked. She waved her hand and slapped Han Qian on the shoulder. Han Qian, who was looking at Jijing's silly smile, was stunned and frowned. Mom. Why did you hit me? It hurts. Why should I hit you if it doesn't hurt? Go and prepare the couplets. I'll post them with your dad later. Mom. It's not daylight yet. As soon as he finished speaking, the door curtain was opened, and Wen Nuan walked into the east room with sleepy eyes. The girl was still wearing cartoon pajamas. She hugged her mother, pinched Han Qian's face, then climbed up on the Kong and threw herself towards Ji Jing. At this time, Ji Jing's face was full of tension, and she lay in Ji Jing's arms warmly. Ji Jing was nervous and didn't dare to move. She looked at her eldest nephew with pleading eyes. Han Qian sighed helplessly and stepped forward to pinch his warm little ears. Stop sleeping, let's go, and I'll take you to play. Wen Nuan sat up and looked at Ji Jing's chest with burning eyes. Then he turned around, took off Han Qian's military coat and put it on him. He left the moving house with his head held high. Han Qian sighed helplessly and told Ji Jing rested for a while, and just as she turned around to go out, there was a sound of firecrackers at the door, and then Yan Qingqing's voice came from the west room. Nuan Nuan, you are sick. It's not even 5 o'clock yet. She was answered by the sound of another small string of firecrackers. She didn't know where the old man bought a small hanging whip for Nuan Nuan. Each string was only as long as a palm. Nuan Nuan was having so much fun that Yan Qingqing couldn't sleep either. She put it on. After getting up, he came to the east room and saw Ji Jing. He was slightly startled, then he hugged Jian'er's mother's arm and started acting coquettishly. Mom, how about I go and give Wen Nuan a good beating? She's so annoying. Jian'er's mother stroked Yan Qingqing's silver hair and smiled. Be good, don't fight. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a loud noise in the courtyard. Han Qian was worried that Nuan Nuan was playing with Nuan Nuan, so he hurriedly went out to take a look, only to see the old man and Nuan Nuan looking up at the fireworks exploding in the sky. Han Qian, he sighed helplessly. It's definitely the old man's pampering that makes her so naive after getting married. Han Qian frowned and said weakly. How can anyone set off fireworks so early in the morning? Nuan Nuan turned to glare at Han Qian and snorted coldly. I want you to take care of it. You don't like setting off fireworks, so why don't you let me play? Dad, Han Qian won't let me play. You beat him, Dad will help you. Listening to the conversation between the old man and Wen Nuan, Han Qian quickly raised his hands. At this time, Yan Qingqing ran past Han Qian and brought a gust of fragrant wind. Yan Qingqing said angrily. Xiao Nuan Nuan. Han Qian doesn't dare to beat you, but I dare. Ah! Yan Hu, don't come over here, I'll blow you up. The two girls were chasing each other in the yard. I don't know when Cai Qinghu appeared next to Han Qian. Lady Cai was fully dressed and frowned. Did you start arguing so early today? Wen Nuan and Yan Qingqing quarreled every day, and wrestling happened every now and then. Cai Qinghu was used to it, and so was the old man. During breakfast, several girls were staring at Wen Nuan, but our little phoenix acted as if nothing happened. Posting couplets after dinner, Nuan Nuan posted 4 big characters on the door of the house where Han Qian lived. The pen is full of fat pigs. Then he went out with the couplets in his arms. Tanjiao and Ji Jing stayed in the house, pasting couplets and burning incense with Jian'er's mother. Yates, who was handicapped, continued to make sketches for Yu's poems. Yu was addicted to painting recently. Seeing that the time was almost 9 o'clock and Nuan Nuan and the other 3 hadn't come back yet, Han Qian was a little curious. How long did it take to post a couplet? He picked up his clothes and walked out to the gate. When he saw the 3 girls, Han Qian's face was filled with helplessness. 2 girls who were 1.7 meters tall were holding melon seeds in their hands, pointing and giving orders to a girl who was a little over 16 meters tall. At this time, Yan Qingqing was stepping on a stool and holding a couplet in her hands to ask if the two of them were tall enough. Wen Nuan frowned and said seriously, "It should be higher." Cai Qinghu said calmly, "It's crooked, a little to the left." Yan Qingqing gritted her teeth and said, "What now?" "A little to the right." "Yan Hu, please stick it higher." "Whose couplet is stuck on the waistband?" Yan Qingqing bit her tongue and said angrily, "If it weren't for Han Qian's house, you two would be waiting to be beaten." Nuan threw away the melon seed peels in his hand and frowned. "Hurry up and put it on. It's so laborious. You can't reach the cai vase." "Yes, the flower pot, you have to keep it out of reach to let the warmth come in." "I'm too tall, well, I'm afraid of heights. I don't dare to lower my head when I walk, I feel dizzy." Cai Qinghu is simply murderous, but can Yan Qingqing, who has been quarreling with her for more than a year, do anything? Holding the couplet in his hand, he sneered, "If your breasts were as big as Jijing's, you wouldn't feel dizzy even if you lower your head." Cai Qinghu frowned. "Why?" Nuan chuckled. "Because I can't see the ground when I look down." "Don't say it, you are younger than me." Cai whopping, "I will fight with you." "You two, stop making trouble. Is it crooked now?" Han Qian stood not far away and watched the three quarreling girls. When watching Wen Nuan and Yan Qingqing still fighting and ignoring Yan Qingqing, Han Qian sighed, walked to the door and stretched out his hands to hug Yan Qingqing on the ladder. He came down, then climbed up the ladder with the couplet, and after attaching the couplet, Han Qian gently lifted his warm butt, patted Cai Qinghu's shoulder again, and frowned. "There's still trouble during the Chinese New Year." Wen Nuan grabbed Han Qian's clothes and kicked him back, saying angrily, "Isn't this the trouble caused by your flirting with others?" Yan Qingqing narrowed her eyes and continued, "Am I a flower or a grass?" Nuan said angrily without looking back, "You are a tree root. You don't know how high the altitude is. Warm me, uncle, I will fight with you." Yan Qingqing never thinks twice when scolding people. The two girls pulled each other's collars and returned to the yard. When Han Qian also wanted to go back, Cai Qinghu held Han Qian and coyly lowered his head and whispered, "Why did you only hit me warmly and not me?" Han Qian tilted his head and looked at Cai Qinghu and roared, "Cai Qinghu, are you sick?" As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian saw his mother walking away and coming towards him with a feather duster. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 850. Mom. Happy New Year. Bang, bang. Listening to these two sounds, Han Qian frowned and gritted his teeth. How painful is this? But Guan Yunbiao didn't care at all. After kowtowing twice, he extended his hand to his mother. "Mom, do you have any red envelopes for the Chinese New Year? If not, can I roll over?" Qian's mother was amused by Guan Yunbiao and said yes with a smile. She really prepared a red envelope. Qian's mother handed the red envelope to Guan Yunbiao. The guy handed it to Lu Nier, stood up and smiled. "Done." Then he turned to look at Han Qian and shouted in a mean voice, "Qian brother. Get out of here. Liang brother. I will take my daughter to your house tomorrow, and prepare the red envelope." Guan Yunbiao glared at the two of them, and then the old man suddenly spoke. "Biozi, your son shouldn't be young anymore. Why didn't you bring him here?" Guan Yunbiao chuckled. "Going to her grandma's house with her mother to celebrate the New Year." "Oh Xianyuan, please get a red envelope for the child. The child didn't come, so we have to give this red envelope. There is also the red envelope from Liang Er. You all have to prepare it for the junior." It was rare for the old man to speak, but Wen Nuan was really unprepared. She raised her head and looked at her mother-in-law. Chiener's mother saw Wenwen's dilemma at a glance. At this time, Cai King Hu and Yan Qingqing took out red envelopes and handed them to Guandegu and Su. Liang said in unison. For the kids. For the kids. After the words came out, the two looked at each other and then said. As an ant. As an ant. The two looked at each other again and said in unison. Are you crazy? Are you sick? Seeing that they were about to quarrel, Guan Yunbiao and Suliang quickly took the red envelope and changed the subject. After staying at home for about an hour, they left with their families. When they went out, Suliang and Guan Yunbiao discussed Han Qian's situation in a low voice, recalling that they went out. Shi Hankin looked at the two of them with reluctant eyes. Suliang held Li Li's hand tightly and sighed. It's better to be a wife. After saying this, Guan Yunbiao frowned. There's something in your words, Li Li. I heard from Chiener that Suliang mentioned his thoughts to that consultant not long ago. It was when you were about to give birth. You have to ask about this. Suliang sneered. Will my wife believe it? Li Li spoke calmly. I believe it. Let's go home first. When Suliang was dragged by the ears and stuffed into the car, Lunir narrowed her eyes and said. How about you? It is estimated that the new year for these two people may not be too good. Han Qian is also having a hard time. As soon as these two guys left, Li Er brought Tu Kun and Li Jiai to ask for red envelopes. Tu Kun shouted one after another, but the warmth made me happy. No red envelopes are given directly in cash. Then Sister Yang Lan came over with Xiao Baibei. Waves of people came and people left, and the work was not finished until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Han Qian and the old man had to start preparing for the New Year's Eve dinner. The New Year's Eve dinner in the north would be eaten at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then in the evening I'll be eating dumplings around 10 o'clock. The old man and Tong Yao started cooking, and two master-level chefs started cooking. Han Qian washed and cut vegetables to serve the two cooks, and Ji Jing prepared the dishes. The remaining girls sat together in twos and threes. Yates also wanted to come to the kitchen to help, but unfortunately his legs were not very convenient. As for the rest, they basically had no chance to work in the kitchen. The old man was shaking the big spoon, and the flames were burning in the misfortune. Han Qian had learned this unique skill for a long time and never learned it. He was very strong, but he couldn't move the big spoon. A plate of stir-fried kidneys was filled with quilts. Ji Jing placed it in a sealed cage, worried that it would be cold when it was served. Ji Jing secretly pinched a piece of waste flour and stuffed it into Han Qian's mouth. Han Qian chuckled and had to admit that the old man's cooking skills were much better than his. Then the fairy chicken from the nursery rhyme was also cooked. The stir-fried kidney flowers were ordered by Yushisai, and Han Qian knew what they meant. The fairy chicken with ginseng, wolfberry, and other Chinese herbs was made by nursery rhyme for Chiener's mother. He poured it all into the casserole. Han Qian just thought eat, nursery rhyme frowned. It still needs to be stewed on the stove for a while. Go and get the silkworm chrysalis. If it's warm, you'll want to eat dry and stir-fried silkworm chrysalis. Smash, I'm washing the large intestine and cutting it into small pieces. Xiaonuan wants to eat the spicy fried large intestine. Han Qian handed the silkworm chrysalis to Tong Yao and frowned. Why does Wen Nuan like to eat this weird thing? Nursery rhyme pouted. Who knows, the dishes she ordered are very special. You may have to fill them with some blood sausage later. Han Qian frowned and said again. What the hell? Is this something you want to eat if you are warm? Yes. Han Qian had a headache, so he went to fill the blood sausage. Tong Yao didn't believe that it was made outside, because he was afraid that it was not clean. When Han Qian prepared the blood sausage and put it in the steamer, he went to find Wen Nuan and asked her why she just ate it. These weird things, and then I found the same guy as warmth. Yates. She also liked these dark dishes. Then Nuan Wen told Han Qian that she wanted to eat pumpkin stewed crab. Han Qian bit his lower lip and raised his hand. Wen Nuan immediately frowned. Han Qian turned around and went to prepare. As soon as he walked out, he heard Yan Qingqing shouted that she wanted to eat steamed crabs. The two of them started arguing again. When they walked into the kitchen, the old man had already started to wash the pot and prepare to cook turbot and carp. The nursery rhyme also started to stir-fry shrimps. Not long after, a strange scream broke out in the kitchen, and Han Qian ran out of the kitchen with a face full of horror. Fortunately, the kitchen and the main room were not together. Han Qian quickly ran to the chicken coop, covering his chest with one hand and breathing heavily. When Nuan hurriedly ran out of the house, stepped forward, hugged Han Qian in his arms, and whispered, "Be good, don't be scared, don't be scared." Han Qian was really frightened and almost cried, pointing to the kitchen and shouting. Nurse rhymes are simply inhuman. In the kitchen, Tong Yao tilted her head and looked at the crab split in half with a kitchen knife on the cutting board. Then she glanced at Han Qian in the yard through the window. She took out the second crab and raised the knife in her hand. Every time the kitchen knife fell, the sound on the cutting board made Han Qian couldn't help but tremble. Seeing Han Qian being held warmly in his arms, he murmured nursery rhymes. "You're not even afraid of killing people, so why are you afraid of killing a crab?" Jing, who was standing aside, looked pale. She was also scared. When she ate crabs, she just threw them into the pot and ignored them. This was a nursery rhyme. This was like chopping them alive. Looking at the crabs that had lost half of their bodies, they were still moving. Jing was also worried. Exited the kitchen. Nursery rhyme pouted. "Coward. Dad, why is Han Qian so afraid of killing crabs? I heard that he had a quarrel with Wen Nuan before because he ate crabs." After hearing this, the old man thought seriously, pinched his chin and said suspiciously, "Maybe this is the principle of a gentleman staying far away from the kitchen, right? Hearing his voice and not being able to bear to eat his meat? I haven't read a book, but it seems like this. When I was a kid, he would stay away from the pigs at home. I really don't know why." After nursery rhyme cut the crabs and started preparing the pumpkin, she thought for a while before speaking. "Dad, I can't understand this. Isn't human life the most precious? There are some things that Han Qian won't let me tell you. Anyway, you should understand what I mean." The old man chuckled. "That must be the person who wanted to kill him, right? Generally speaking, he is really cruel when dealing with this kind of people. For example, he has never spoken to his father since he was so old, and he has never visited his grave once. You say he is cruel. He treats the people around him quite well, but is he not cruel? He is more cruel to himself than anyone else, and I, as a father, don't understand my son." Tong Yao turned around and looked at Han Qian again, curled her lips and lowered her head to cook the crabs. About 2 hours later, the New Year's Eve dinner was about to begin. Now the girls finally had something to do. Yates, nursery rhymes, and Jing were sitting at the dinner table. The rest went to the kitchen to serve the dishes. "Qian's mother, he kept telling me not to get burned. Look at the dishes on the table. There are 20 stir-fried dishes alone, not counting the stewed fairy chicken, pumpkin crab, sauerkraut, and blood sausage, and the warm mox yuwang, as well as cold dishes such as beef with green onions and cold jellyfish." Han Qian got a glass of white wine and said seriously, "Come. Let me bring you a drink." Everyone turned to look at Han Qian, who grinned. Everyone has a good time eating and drinking. Everyone was scornful, and then when Nuan spoke. "The new year is coming, and I am 1 year older. I am grateful to my father-in-law and mother-in-law for doting on me in the past 2 years. I am grateful to Sci-fi for helping me in my work. I am also grateful to Tong Tong for taking care of me in my life. I thank everyone here. She drank a glass of juice in one gulp, and then Nguyen had another glass of juice. She didn't sit down, she held the cup and looked at everyone before speaking. Today, I want to thank someone, not Han Chien, not my parents-in-law, but Yan Hu. I have lived for 28 years. In 28 years, I have only encountered 2 dangers, but these 2 times Yan Hu Ching Ching hid me behind her and stood in front of me with her soft girlish shoulders to protect my safety. The first time was when she encountered gangsters at the Mid-Autumn Festival party. She stood in front of me with open arms, facing the extremely vicious gangsters. I never retreated. The second time was when I faced Chen Lei and Chen Chiang in the department store. I am very grateful, and I am also very lucky. I am lucky to have you. Yan Ching Ching picked up the wine glass and smiled with her eyes narrowed. Same luck. But I won't show mercy to you just because you said these words today. Wen Nguyen narrowed his eyes and smiled. This is what I want to see. The war between you and me will never end, no matter we win or lose. As soon as these words came out, Yan Ching Ching was stunned. Han Chien and Tong Yao spoke at the same time. Tong Yao was slow for a moment, and Han Chien frowned. Why don't you thank me? Wen Nguyen ignored Han Chien. Everyone was hungry and stretched out his chopsticks to start eating. Han Chien just picked up the chopsticks and was stunned. There were 3 pairs of chopsticks placed on the small pot of pumpkin stewed crab. A small crab was covered by 3 pairs of chopsticks. Intensify. Warm, Yan Ching Ching, Cai King Hu. The 3 of them were eyeing the same crab. At this time, Yan Ching Ching suddenly narrowed her eyes and smiled. Since I like Wen Nguyen, I won't compete with you. After all, the melons that are forced are not sweet. Nguyen laughed after hearing this. Since you don't want it, I don't want it either. I remember I told you, don't touch what I like. If it's dirty, I won't want it. Yan Ching Ching said her famous saying. My grassland and my horses, I can play with them as I want. Hey? Flowerpot, can you climb on the horse? Han Chien stood up, picked up the crabs and put them in nursery rhymes bowl. Han Chien didn't think much about it, just because nursery rhyme was sitting next to him. Then Han Chien felt something was wrong in the atmosphere. Chien's mother coughed dryly. Han Chien he stood up hurriedly and picked up a crab for each of the 3 aunts, a piece of ribs for Yates, a piece of fish without bones for Aunt Ji, and a crawling shrimp for Yu Shisai. Han Chien took a deep breath, put down his chopsticks, picked up a spoon, and made a bowl of chicken soup for his mother. The old man didn't like chicken, so he gave him a bowl of sauerkraut and blood sausage. Then Han Chien removed the chicken legs from the fairy chicken and put them down to warm them. Wen Nguyen, who was eating crabs on the plate, frowned. I've eaten chicken legs, can I eat anything else? Han Chien quickly picked up the chicken legs and put them on Yan King King's plate. Yan Ching Ching immediately said angrily. Give me the warmth you don't want. Oh shit. Han Chien felt that his head was about to explode. He picked up the chicken legs and put them on his plate. At this time, Yates and Yu Shisai spoke at the same time. Mr. Han, I want to eat another chicken drumstick. Han Chien, give me a chicken drumstick, I don't want yours. Han Chien put down his chopsticks and rubbed his face with both hands. Then he looked at his mother and found that his mother was chatting with Cai King Hu about ginseng. Then he looked at the old man, who took a sip of wine and said calmly. I don't eat chicken. One New Year's Eve meal almost drove Han Chien crazy. Han Chien, I want to drink orange juice. Eldest nephew, please pass me the liquor. Mr. Sir. I want to eat shrimps. Mr. Han, can you take care of me who is sick? Brother Chien, I want to eat crabs. Quickly pick up crabs for me. Only Yu Shisai and Yan Ching Ching didn't speak. They were working hard, but from the look in their eyes, Han Qian felt that they couldn't hold back anything good. As the sun set, Han Qian and the girls set off firecrackers in the yard. When they were lighting the fireworks, two people came to the door. When Nuan saw the person, he lit a string of small whips and walked towards them, followed by an angry sound. Drink came. Wenshi, can you take care of your daughter? How can you blow up her mother with firecrackers? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 851. After the New Year's Eve dinner in the evening, Han Qian was driven back to his home after 11 o'clock. When he asked Wen Nuan if he wanted to go back, Wen had already got into bed and was getting ready to sleep. Han Qian stood at the door and frowned at Wen. No way. You're going back to mom tomorrow, and I'll come to pick you up. Nuan closed his eyes and whispered. My mother is in the east room. Why are you going to my house tomorrow? Didn't we eat dumplings together just now? Don't bother me. I have to collect firewood tomorrow morning. Going out to collect firewood on the morning of the first day of the new year means collecting wealth. This is what the older generation said, but Wen Nuan believes this very much. In desperation, Han Qian sighed, then looked at several girls and found that they were all very strange, and there was no one there. I want to leave with Han Qian. Standing outside the courtyard gate, looking at the luxury cars parked at the gate, Han Qian sighed and took out his mobile phone to call Su Hongchang. Not long after, Su Hongchang drove over. Han Qian motioned to Lao Su to get to the passenger seat and he would drive. The car started and Han Qian said calmly while looking at the fireworks exploding in the sky. Which car is safer? Is Yates's car scrapped? It's only been half a year since I bought it. How is the safety of the Land Rover Range Rover? Su Hongchang tentatively replied. Is it too big? Secretary, yes, body is suitable for a Wrangler, or a Raptor. The eldest mistress Yan Qingqing? Han Qian smiled bitterly and shook his head. Forget it, let them use the same thing. Isn't that just looking for trouble? Just buy it as you see fit. It will take about 2 or 3 months for her to be able to drive. I understand. I'll start contacting you tomorrow. Master, you should buy a house. Grandpa and the old lady are old, so they can't do everything by themselves, right? There's another thing. Explain. I contacted several of your childhood friends and arranged jobs and houses for them without permission. Hee. Han Qian chuckled. At this time, Su Hongchang handed him a cigarette. Han Qian lit the cigarette, took a deep breath, and said with a smile. Making the decision without permission? Stop taking all the responsibility on yourself. Yan Qingqing asked you to do it, right? You don't have to cover for them next time. Su Hongchang scratched his head and whispered. Nothing can be hidden from the young master. At this time, Han Qian's cell phone rang suddenly. Han Qian didn't answer it. He handed the phone to Lao Su and told Su Hongchang to dial the number on it. No one answered. Han Qian was not surprised at all. Less than 10 minutes later, the number came back. Han Qian and Su Hongchang pressed the speakerphone and shouted loudly. Have a great new year. Come, have a drink and celebrate the new year together. In your brand new Mercedes. Remember to lock the trunk next time. Squeak. Han Qian stepped on the brake. Su Hongchang opened the handle and took out a dark pistol. He loaded it skillfully and handed it to Han Qian. Han Qian took the pistol, put it behind his waist and opened the car door. At this time, Feng Lun's voice sounded. Sent from mobile phone. Don't be nervous. I'm not here to look for you this time. Keep driving. Your two good friends are in the hands of Kui Li. He is a man who doesn't understand the charm. I'll give you 20 minutes. It's past 12 o'clock. You need to prepare 2 coffins. The call was hung up. Han Qian got out of the car and found that there was no car around. When he walked behind the car, he found that the trunk was indeed lit. Su Hongchang also got out of the car and knelt down in front of Han Qian with a pop. Master, I definitely did not betray you. Han Qian held a cigarette in his mouth and said calmly. Go look at the dashboard, check the brakes, don't drive this car anymore, get a car over now, and don't talk to me now. Su Hongchang crawled back to the car, started the car and found that the indicator light on the dashboard did not light up. Then he took out his cell phone and asked his son to get a completely safe car and send it over. At this time, Han Qian was smoking heavily. Where is Kui Li? 2 friends. Don't understand the style. Snapped. Han Qian slapped his forehead, and then called Tu Xiao. Boss 2, I'm in District 8, send me a car in 5 minutes, hurry. After that, he hung up the phone and called Lu Guangming. Lu Guangming answered the phone drunkenly. Han Qian said urgently. Are you with Wu Sijuan today? No. Stop drinking the damn thing and call Si Quan now. Okay, I'll fight now. Listening to Han Qian's tone, Lu Guangming sobered up instantly. After Han Qian hung up the phone, he shouted to Su Hongchang. After you get the new car, go to my door and guard it. Don't tell anyone who asks you where I went. Master, I will go with you. Roll. Within a few minutes, a young man ran over in his pajamas and handed the car keys to Han Qian. Han Qian found the car and drove straight to the most luxurious community in the city center. Han Qian couldn't understand that Wu Sijuan and Wanfang's community was the most secure in the city. Okay, how did these 2 guys get in? These 2 lunatics suddenly returned to Binhai? Don't they know that Lao Gu just left yesterday? Now the whole country is arresting them both. Are you crazy? I'm afraid they're crazy. Han Qian arrived at the gate of the community and was stopped by the guard when he got out of the car. Han Qian took out his driver's license and pistol and waved it in front of the guard's eyes. Report for inspection. Under the dim light, the guard did not see the ID in Han Qian's hand clearly, and just regarded him as someone from the Yamen gate. He asked softly if what happened, and Han Qian replied calmly. Someone disappeared recently. I'm going to question the witness. He's from building 26. The guard did not dare to delay and quickly let the car go and promised to keep an eye on the car. Han Qian jogged all the way to building 26. There was no lock and he could only climb the stairs. Fortunately, Wu Siquan's floor was not high. When Han Qian came to the door, he took a deep breath, hid the pistol in his clothes, and knocked lightly on the door. No respond. Han Qian knocked on the door twice again, and then Wanfang's voice came from inside. Which one? With a tremor in his voice, Han Qian took a deep breath and replied softly. Brother Qianer. The door slowly opened, and Han Qian saw Wanfang, who was pale. Han Qian stepped forward and took Wanfang's arm, saying anxiously. You first. It's you, don't move first. The pistol was pressed against Han Qian's temple. Han Qian let go of Wanfang, took out the pistol and hit the strange guy in the face with the butt of the pistol. Han Qian didn't recognize the man holding the pistol. He was sure that he was not the people involved in the Mid-Autumn Festival massacre. The man wiped the bloodshot spit and spat, and just as he opened his mouth to speak, the black gun barrel was inserted into his mouth, and Han Qian said ferociously. Who the hell do you think you are? I dare to shoot, but you humming dare. The man raised his hands and put down the pistol, and Han Qian whispered to Wanfang. You go to Suliang's house first. Wanfang didn't move. Han Qian took a deep breath, took out his pistol and threw it on the ground, raised his hands, and then the man punched Han Qian's lower abdomen. Han Qian covered his stomach and raised his head and glanced at this man. You said calmly. You're going to die. At this time, Feng Lun was standing not far behind Han Qian, wearing an apron and holding a spoon in his hand. He winked at the man and then smiled. Qian, don't be so angry. It's Chinese New Year. Wouldn't it be nice to sit down, drink some wine, and chat? You'd better not call the police this time, because your two good friends will die. Han Qian stood up slowly, stretched out his hand to hold Wan Fang in his arms, and said softly. Sister Wan Wan, go back to your room and rest. I'll be fine here. Only then did Han Qian see two clear slap marks on Wan Fang's face. Then Han Qian looked at Feng Lun and said calmly. Where's Wu Sigwan? Feng Lun chuckled. Not very honest. I drank some sleeping pills. I guess I won't die. Wan Fang looked back at Han Qian step by step, walked into the room and closed the door. Watching Wan Fang's figure disappear, Han Qian turned around and grabbed the man's hair, and hit the man's throat with his left forearm. The man instantly feeling difficulty breathing, Han Qian punched him in the abdomen, then grabbed his hair and smashed it on the shoe cabinet. When Han Qian was about to take action, Kui Li stepped forward and hugged Han Qian's waist and pulled him away. Han Qian said angrily. I'm telling you, if you touch the people around me from now on, I will make you regret living. Then he threw Kui Li away and said angrily. Look at your mother. You're thirsty. Kui Li tilted his head and frowned, looking at Han Qian and wondering. Are you confused about the situation? Han Qian frowned. Don't you understand me? Kui Li raised his hands to pour water. Han Qian walked to the dining table and picked up a piece of egg with chopsticks and put it in his mouth. At this time, the man who was beaten by Han Qian picked up a pistol and walked towards Han Qian. Feng Lun shook his head at him. He said calmly. I told you not to touch the two girls. Fortunately, you just slapped them. If you had done other things, I really couldn't protect you. The man growled. Why should he? Feng Lun smiled bitterly, shook his head, and said calmly. He doesn't want his life, but no one wants him to die. Fortunately, he came here by himself today. If his father came here, the three of us would have to be thrown here. After saying that, he took out a bottle of red wine from the wine cabinet. Feng Lun got a glass and handed it to Han Qian, smiling. I'm curious, why are you not at home during the Chinese New Year? I originally wanted to catch Nuan's parents, but we were a step too late. They seem to have received a call from your mother and passed us by. What I wanted to catch next was that Jijing who has mysophobia. What a pity. It was you who came out, so I had no choice but to attack the two little girls. Guess I will come today. Han Qian picked up the wine glass and thought about how his mother tried to persuade Jijing to stay tonight, and kicked him out again. Mom guessed it? If it is true, Mom, you are really willing to let go of your son, and you really believe in your son. Han Qian ignored Feng Lun and drank wine and ate food. Feng Lun sat opposite Han Qian, took out a photo, put it on the table and pushed it to Han Qian. Have you seen this person? Han Qian glanced sideways at the man in the photo, and then frowned. He had never seen this face before, but he had seen these eyes and the pair of brows that looked like signs. He slowly raised his head and looked at Feng Lun, said in a low voice. He stabbed my dad. His name is Zhang Shengli, one of the helpers Feng's Haida brought to me. Two of them were caught attacking you in District 8. The other one, Ding Peng, was also sent to prison by your father. Apart from me and Kui Li, he is the only one who has absconded. I forgot to tell you that he is from Niuqiudong. Han Qian snorted, then said softly. Feng Lun, you have so many secrets, why don't you go and get Niuqiudong and Linmend yourself? You got me involved, and I don't quite understand your purpose. Feng Lun chuckled. Me? Who am I doing? Han Qian, do you think they will care even if I reveal these secrets? Maybe my so-called evidence will be destroyed if it is sent to someone. In the end, I will get nothing. I don't have any hatred against Niu Qiudong or Lin Mend, my only hatred is for Feng's Haida, but when I knew that Feng's Haida was just a chess piece, I suddenly lost interest in him. Sure enough, you can't eat too much. Feng Lun, you are really pure and a bad person. Do you know how many people have been killed because of your whim? Niu Qiudong, Ho Kong, Go De Peo, Feng's Haida, in the lobby of that hotel the manager, Feng's Haida's father, and the two killers killed by Kui Li, don't feel guilty. Guilt. Someone in the world plays the role of a righteous man, so someone needs to play the role of a villain, and I happen to be very suitable for this role. How can I live my whole life, scratching for food in a mediocre yellow land? No, 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 my life shouldn't be like that. What he looks like now? Like a rat crossing the street. As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian's cell phone rang. It was Guan Yun Biao. Han Qian answered the phone and said they would meet tomorrow, then hung up. Feng Lun chuckled and continued the topic he had just left unfinished. Han Qian, in fact, we are very similar. We are from the same place. You took risks for your mother's illness, and I took risks for my father's injustice. We are walking the same path. You should be like me and let everyone fear you. Tear down everyone's fig leaf. Han Qian, who was just about to pick up the vegetables, was stunned. He tilted his head and looked at Feng Lun. Han Qian was silent for a long time, and then said softly, "Envy." After these two words came out, Feng Lun's eyes flashed with panic. This was the first time Han Qian found Feng Lun panicked since he met him. Panic passed in a flash, and Feng Lun chuckled. Jealous? Who are you jealous of? Han Qian said calmly. Jealous of me? There is a big question mark in your mind. There is a good age difference and similar origins. We are both poor boys who came out of the countryside and have similar experiences. Why are the results so different, right? When he uttered the last two words, Han Qian's face was full of smiles and his expression was very relaxed. On the other hand, Feng Lun's face became very ugly and he growled. I told you, I'm not jealous of you. Don't lie. Han Qian, don't you understand? I'm not humming jealous of you, and I, Feng Lun, am not jealous of you. You are jealous, jealous of why people with the same experience take different paths. I have money, power, a woman, someone who cares about me, and people who feel sorry for me. You have nothing. That's because I don't want to go down your path. No, 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 it's because you can't understand why this is happening, so you're interested in me. You want me to follow the same path as you, but slowly you find that you can't do it, so you're jealous. Feng Lun's face had begun to become distorted, and Kui Li quietly hid in the bathroom. At this time, the man spoke. Why are you talking nonsense with him? Feng Lun, you are more girly than I thought. Chirp. It was late at night, and people all over the city began to set off fireworks and firecrackers to welcome the gods. The whole city was filled with thunderous roars, and no one cared about this chirp. Han Qian frowned slightly, looked at the man who was shot in the chest and said calmly. I told you you would. Then Feng Lun pointed a gun with a silencer at the center of Han Qian's eyebrows and said in a low voice. I'm not jealous. Han Qian chuckled. You're jealous. Tweet, tweet, tweet. Feng Lun fired several shots. Blood all over the ground. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 852. Do you have the energy? You can't be furious at a dead man. Feng Lun. You have the ability to shoot me. Han Qian continued to drink wine and eat food. As for the person whose name he didn't even have a chance to say, He had been beaten into pieces by Feng Lun. Kui Li wiped the blood on the ground with a mop like a bullied child. Feng Lun looked coldly. Look at Han Qian. After a long time, the ceremony to receive the gods stopped, and it became quiet outside. Feng Lun's mentality also improved, and he grinned. Han Qian, I find you are right. I am indeed jealous of you. Why? You have also been treated unfairly. Why can you still maintain a heart that loves life? Why? 3 reasons. This shows that Feng Lun's mentality has collapsed, and also revealed the biggest question in his heart. Han Qian stood up and said calmly to Kui Li. It's no use wearing gloves. You'll know it's you too whether you leave fingerprints or not. Kui Li looked at Han Qian, then lowered his head. He had something to say, but didn't say it. Han Qian went to the wine cabinet and took out a bottle of white wine. He returned to the table and looked at the plate of cold eggs before leaving. He went to the refrigerator and took out 2 sausages, then returned to the table and continued drinking. The liquor is still tasty enough. Why do you ask me? I love life? No, 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 you are wrong. I don't love life. I just have to be responsible for the people around me. Feng Lun raised his head and laughed. Responsible? Who are you responsible for? Han Qian, you are a proud person. You will not bow your head in the face of death. I know your information clearly. Your plan can be sold for 400,000 or more, but that manager took it away. You have achieved all the results, but you are going to jail. Don't you think it's unfair? Han Qian took a bite of sausage and said vaguely. What's unfair? It's very fair. I was able to join Chang Xiang because this manager gave me the opportunity. Chang Xiang's troubles and opportunities were also revealed to me by him. Without him, I wouldn't have been able to take advantage of the opportunity and take 400,000 yuan to rescue him. My mom, so. How is it unfair? Because it's unfair for me to go to jail? Oh, he gave me a chance for my mom to live, so what if I go to jail? 3 years? 5 years? 10 years? I'm out. I can still see my mother's smiling face after prison. Kui Li, who had wiped away the blood, whispered. I think Han Qian is right. Feng Lun said angrily. Piss off. Kui Li went back to the bathroom and squatted down. Feng Lun took the sausage from Han Qian's hand and took a big bite, growling. Fair. Okay, you say this is fair, then let's talk about other things. When Nuan said that we will marry you, and we will marry you by agreement. You will not be allowed to touch you for 3 years. You will take care of your food, drink, poop, and work. But she flirted with other men in front of you, cheated on her mentally, and ended up asking you to give her 4 million? Or I'll send you back to prison. Is that fair? Han Qian tilted his head and looked at Feng Lun, smiling. You don't understand even if I tell you. I don't understand? There's nothing I don't understand. After the divorce, she still lives in your house and has strict restraints on you. Why does she? Why can you still accept it calmly? She has cheated on her mentally. You should be angry and hate her. You should take revenge on her and make her regret everything she has done. You should become like me and make all the unfairness in this world disappear. After listening to Feng Lun's words, Han Qian took a deep breath, took a sip of white wine, and said calmly. Feng Lun. This is the difference between you and me. What hatred is there between me and Nuan? Cuckold. Mental cheating? 4 million compensation? Do you think these are unfair? Right. Should I take revenge and ruin everything for her? Right. Why? Han Qian's rhetorical question made Feng Lun stunned. Han Qian took another sip of liquor and laughed. What you understand is that you see yourself as the protagonist. I am facing more than 3 years and less than 10 years in prison for committing a crime. My youth will remain in prison. You should not be able to understand that kind of despair. It is yours. The sky has collapsed. Everyone in the world wants you to go to prison. When you are about to give up yourself, a light appears in front of you. She fights against all your enemies to give you freedom. I want to ask you, Feng Lun. Are you an enemy or a benefactor? Feng Lun was stunned. He gritted his teeth and did not speak. Han Qian said again. Warmth. You have seen her face, figure, background, and academic qualifications all top-notch in Binhai. A little phoenix born with a silver spoon in her mouth. If she wants someone to marry by agreement, she only needs to wave her hand, and the team I can queue up from the main entrance to glory. But why did she choose me? I asked, but she didn't answer, but I know the answer. There is nothing messy about it. It's just because she thinks I shouldn't go to jail. She thinks I should get the plan worked. She thought I was risking my life to save my mother. She simply didn't want me to go to jail. Compared with 3 years in prison, I would take care of her for 3 years and take care of her freely. Which one would you choose? Feng Lun took a sip of white wine and growled. What about her and Lin Zongheng? Han Qian said softly. First of all, you have to see your position and identity clearly. It's just an agreement to get married. It's a simple cooperation. I will take care of her, protect her, and repay the money and favors I owe her. She will repay my debt to Changxiang and give my mother provide the best treatment and supplements. It can be said that we were not even friends at that time. Where did you mention the cheating you mentioned? She gave me freedom and treated my mother's illness. From treating illness to replenishing the body, she provided things, including my 400,000, the total cost was nearly 1 million, we were just a cooperative relationship at the time. Feng Lun clenched his fists angrily, and Han Qian ignored Feng Lun's anger and continued. I can't be where I am today without the cultivation of my father-in-law. I have 1 class a week and teach him everything he can. This teaching lasts 3 years. I am a rural farmer, and he is the boss of a group, a man worth over 100 million. My father-in-law and mother-in-law have never looked at me with contempt or contempt. They treat me like their own son. Hatred. Anger. Humiliation. Where did you see these 3 words? Han Qian paused and continued. Warm, my daughter, you will accompany me back to the countryside during the Chinese New Year. You will not mind the coldness of the earthen house or the dirty houses. You will have nothing to say about your treatment of my mother. Of course, my mother is also very good to her. Feng Lun. People are mutual. Can you see hundreds of good things and only see a little bit of bad? And let me tell you, Wen Nuan and Lin Zongheng have known each other since childhood, but in the 3 years we were together, she changed from calling her every day to 1 call a week, and in the last month I can't make 2 phone calls, and you spend the rest of the time with me. I want to ask you, should I take revenge on Nuan Nuan? To take revenge on the person who gave me freedom and mother? To take revenge on my teacher's children? Feng Lun looked at Han Qian with red eyes. Everything was different from what he thought. What about 4 million? Han Qian chuckled. 4 million? Everyone thinks I'm a fool for divorcing 2 months before the 3-year period expires. Why should I explain to them? I have to tell everyone that I don't want to cause trouble for Nuan Nuan? I don't want to end up being evicted. The embarrassment of going out? As a man, you can bow your head, admit your mistakes, or kneel down, but you have to remember that you must preserve your dignity for the last time. Money. How much is 4 million? What when she taught me is worth it? 10 to 4 million. The supplements and gifts Nuan Nuan has bought for my mother in the past 3 years are also hundreds of thousands. She has absolutely no need to do this because we are just an employment relationship. I proposed the 4 million. I can't because I gave up on myself after leaving Nuan Wen, I have to force myself to make money and use everything when she has taught me. Let me tell you one more thing. It has been a year and I haven't paid back the 4 million to Nuan Shi. She let me enter in jail? It's just a way for the little girl to avoid divorce because she can't wipe her face. Feng Lun took a deep breath. Han Qian raised his head and drank the wine in the glass before speaking again. So why should I take revenge? Everyone has anger, but you have to understand how to vent your anger. Marrying together is sweet, but after separation, we are enemies with drawn swords. Don't be like this. There is no need to go through life like this, let alone always think about a person's bad qualities. Yes. There are indeed many shortcomings in Wen Nuan, but after calculation, her goodness can completely cover up these. No one owes anything to another person, don't take everything the other person does for granted, and don't think that you hate her for doing something you think is wrong. Feng Lun stopped talking, and Han Qian ignored him and continued. You and I have the same origins, the same experiences, and even do the same things sometimes, but there are big differences between you and me. I met Nuan, and she warmed my whole world like a little sun, and you, it's not that I can't meet you, it's that your eyes have been shrouded in anger and darkness, and you can't see these. Enough. Feng Lun roared out, picked up the pistol, pointed it at Han Qian's head and pulled the trigger. Click. Click. There were no bullets. Feng Lun was stunned for a moment, then stood up to get the shotgun. At this time, Kui Li walked out of the bathroom, put his arms around Feng Lun's neck, and whispered. That's almost it? Just like Han Qian said, you have to accept what you think you shouldn't do. Feng Lun threw Kui Li away and hit his chest with the butt of the shotgun. When the barrel of the gun was pointed at Han Qian's head, Feng Lun hesitated. He looked at Han Qian's indifferent look and was stunned. Han Qian, we are different. We just have the same origins and the same experiences. Han Qian chuckled. Yes, because we are different, that's why the two of us take different paths. You have the ability, the brains, the city, and the strategy, but you are missing one thing. Feng Lun closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and said in a deep voice. Responsibility. Correct answer. So now among the 4 young arrogants in Binhai, I, Han Qian, come out on top. I am more cunning than Lin Zongheng, more generous than Lu Shenga, and more responsible than you. I can tell you very frankly today, Feng Lun. If you and I start to fight, I may not be able to live well, but you will definitely die. Feng Lun chuckled. But you're not going to be okay now. Just as Han Qian was about to get up after saying this, Feng Lun grabbed the barrel of the gun and swung the shotgun and hit Han Qian on the head. Han Qian lay on the ground with a thud, blood flowing down. Feng Lun winked at Kui Li, and Kui Li sighed helplessly. Why are you so heavy-handed? I really feel for Han Qian. He hasn't promised your freedom yet. Then Feng Lun walked into the bedroom with a gun, tied up Wan Fang with a rope and threw it on the bed. Then he walked into Wu Sijuan's room and looked at Wu Siguan, who was still sleeping. Feng Lun exited the room and saw Han, who had fainted. Qian, Feng Lun took a deep breath, stepped forward and kicked Han Qian in the stomach, and said angrily. Why are you always calm? Are you not afraid of being shot? Then he and Kui Li left Wu Siguan's home and drove the BMW 320 out of the community from the underground garage. Su Hongchang stood at the door of Qian's mother's house and kept pacing. He didn't dare to call Han Qian for fear of causing trouble to the young master, but there was no movement and he was extremely worried. Looking at the closed courtyard door, Su Hongchang wanted to knock on the door several times, but he held back. Su Hongchang became nervous. He no longer knew what to do now. It was definitely impossible to call the police. After being so entangled, he sent a text message to the young lady he thought he was. The eldest young lady. Not half a minute after the text message was sent, Yan Qingqing called, and Su Hongchang pressed the connect button and choked with tears. Young lady, Su Hongchang deserves to die, the young master is lost. The call was hung up, and not long after, Yan Qingqing, who was wearing pajamas, quietly opened the door. When she saw Su Hongchang, Yan Qingqing's face was gloomy and she said in a deep voice, "When did you find out that Han Qian was lost?" At 12:40, Feng Lun called the young master. Then Feng Lun said a few words, and the young master drove away. "I don't know where he went. He asked me to come over to protect your safety." Feng Lun seems to be in Binhai. Feng Lun is in Binhai? This sentence was like a bolt from the blue. Yan Qingqing's mind went blank for a moment, and then she whispered, "Tell me the details of their conversation." Feng Lun said he would let the young master come over in 20 minutes. He said he had arrested 2 of the young master's friends, and that Kui Li was a person who didn't understand amorous feelings. Then the young master left. Hearing this riddle, Yan Qingqing instantly felt a headache. At this time, the door was opened again, and nursery rhyme in a cotton-padded jacket came out, rubbing her eyes. She looked at Yan Qingqing and Su Hongchang in confusion, tilted her head and said, "What are you two doing secretly?" Yan Qingqing replied in a low voice, "Han Qian was lost. Kui Li captured 2 of Han Qian's friends and said that Kui Li was a man who didn't understand amorous feelings. Then Han Qian left. Now we don't know where Han Qian has gone." Tong Yao was stunned for a moment, then whispered, "Wait a minute," and then slapped her forehead with a clear and strong sound. At this time, Su Hongchang spoke. The young master also acted like this at that time. Nursery rhyme frowned and murmured, "Friends? Han Qian doesn't have many friends, and they are still 2 friends. They should be together. Suliang and Li Li are 2 people. The incomprehensible style should be used in a man's attitude towards women. Oh, I know, yeah, it should be Wu Sijuan and Wan Fang." Yan Qingqing took Su Hongchang's car keys and got into the car. Su Hongchang quickly opened the back door and the nursery rhyme started again. "Well, I'll send you Wu Sijuan's address in 3 minutes. I won't cause any trouble. Don't call the police." Yan Qingqing opened the car window and said calmly, "I have the gun in Qinghu, don't worry. Don't tell them. I'll get back to you quickly. Contact me via text message." Yan Qingqing left quickly, and sure enough, within 3 minutes, nursery rhyme text message was sent. Yan Qingqing drove to the most upscale community in the city. When Yan Qingqing got out of the car, she was holding a baseball bat in her hand. The doorman quickly came out to stop her. Su Hongchang he took out a wad of bills and threw them to the doorman, saying in a deep voice, "If you dare to stop my eldest mistress, I will let your whole family go to the bottom of the sea to reunite tomorrow." Yan Qingqing said coldly, "I'm Yan Qingqing. If you have any trouble, come to me at Glory Group. Give me the elevator button in building 26. Holding the elevator buckle, Yan Qingqing went upstairs. Looking at the closed entrance door, Yan Qingqing stepped forward and knocked on the door. After a few minutes, no one answered. Yan Qingqing turned her head and looked at Su Hongchang and said coldly, "I wish you would open this door." Su Hongchang took a deep breath, picked up the mineral water in his hand, took out a knife with his other hand, and whispered, "I hope the door isn't locked." Within 2 minutes, the door was opened, and Yan Qingqing, who had played with real guns, loaded the pistol and rushed in, roaring, "Feng Lun, if you dare to touch my husband, Han Qian." Ah! A scream from Han Qian. Yan Qingqing is a girl after all. When she saw the dead man beaten into a sieve on the ground, her face was as pale as a piece of white paper, and then her stomach churns. At this time, Su Hongchang also rushed in and took Yan Qingqing's hand. The gun rushed into the 2 bedrooms. When he saw the tied Wan Fang and the sleeping Wu Siguan, Su Hongchang was stunned. At this time, Yan Qingqing spoke. "Old Su, Call the police, call 120, vomit. 2 chapters of 9,000 words, I'm too lazy to share them. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 853. Yan Qingqing heard that Wu Siguan had been given a large amount of sleeping pills. She lowered her head and glanced at the body and the unconscious Han Qian. She spoke and asked Su Hongchang and Wan Fang to take Wu Siguan to the hospital first. When she helped Han Qian, the guy woke up. The moment he opened his eyes, he grabbed Yan Qingqing's neck. Looking at Yan Qingqing's pretty face, Han Qian was slightly startled, and quickly let go of Yan Qingqing to look around. Where's Feng Lun? Yan Qingqing held Han Qian's face and nervously checked it left and right to see if there were any wounds. When it touched the right side of his head, Han Qian took a breath of cold air. Yan Qingqing looked at the bright red palm of her hand. She gritted her silver teeth and wished she could. Feng Lun was cut into pieces, and then the police siren sounded downstairs. Li Jinhai and Cheng Jin rushed over together. Cheng Jin was wearing pajamas on his lower body and a cotton padded jacket on his upper body. It seemed that he went out after receiving the call. Cheng Jin looked at the sieved body and took another look. Han Qian then saw the gun in Yan Qingqing's hand and her bright red hands. Cheng Jin stepped forward and blocked Yan Qingqing. Seeing this, Han Qian quickly grabbed the gun and handed it to Cheng Jin. Cheng Jin glared at Yan Qingqing with the pistol. Yan Qingqing said nothing and handed the gun to Cheng Jin. Jin, he naturally has a way to return it to Cai Qinghu. At this time Li Jinhai spoke. Qianer, what's going on? With Yan Qingqing's support, Han Qian covered his head and stood up, lowering his head and speaking softly. These 3 bastards kidnapped Wan Fang and Wu Siguan and threatened me to come over. Second uncle, can I go to the bureau to get bandaged first? My family doesn't know yet, and I don't want to. Before he finished speaking, Cheng Jin put his arm around Han Qian's shoulders and said softly. Follow me. I don't want to sit on the bench in the city bureau. Let's go. Cheng Jin began to protect the calf, but Li Jinhai had no choice but to tell his men to check the identity of the deceased, check the condition of the house, and seal off the scene to prepare for filing a case. Han Qian got into Cheng Jin's car, and Cheng Jin drove the car himself. On the way, he gave Cai Qinghu made a phone call and told her to go to his house now. Cheng Jin took Han Qian home. He took out the medical kit and handed it over, then asked Yan Qingqing to use the flashlight of her mobile phone to shine on the injured position of Han Qian's head. After a brief inspection, Cheng Jin spoke. It's a small cut. It shouldn't be a big deal. Fortunately, your hair is not long. It will be fine after a while. After saying that, he looked at Yan Qingqing. The gun is Qinghu's, right? When Qinghu comes over, I will return the gun to her. I can't be so reckless in the future, do you hear me? Yan Qingqing lowered her head and said nothing. Not long after, Li Jinhai came with someone, and Cai Qinghu walked in with him. When he saw Yan Qingqing sitting on the sofa and the pistol on the coffee table, Cai Qinghu took a deep breath, stepped forward, picked up the pistol and kicked her. After entering the pocket, Cai Qinghu was pointed at the head by Cheng Jin and scolded severely. Yan Qingqing tried to excuse Cai Qinghu several times, but was stopped by Han Qian. Just a show. Li Jinhai squinted at Cheng Jin, then sat on the sofa and asked Han Qian what happened, how the man died, what was his relationship with Feng Lun, and what was the purpose of Feng Lun's return. After saying this, he picked up potions and bandages to treat the wounds on Han Qian's head. Han Qian endured the pain and grinned angrily. To be honest, I don't even know why he came back suddenly. There are many people in my house tonight. Jing has mysophobia and has to sleep by herself. Feng Lun called me when I was driving home at night. Su Hongchang's car to pick me up was blocked. He did some tricks, and then told me that he had arrested Wan Fang and Wu Siguan, and forced me to go over and meet them. Li Jinhai glanced at the bandage on Han Qian's head. He felt more and more uncomfortable as he looked at it. Han Qian continued in a low voice. Do you think I look like a filial piety person now? Li Jinhai pulled off the bandage and then said. What to hit with? The butt of the shotgun. During this period, he always shot me in the head with his pistol. Fortunately, he had used up all the bullets by that time. When the words came out, everyone's eyes were fixed on Han Qian's. The image of Feng Lun shooting Han Qian in the head appeared in Yan Qingqing's mind. Her face turned pale instantly, and then Han Qian scratched his head and continued. At that time, Feng Lun and I had a fierce quarrel. This blind thing suddenly opened his mouth to irritate Feng Lun, saying that Feng Lun looked like a bitch, and then he was shot and killed by Feng Lun. Well, it should have been just after 12. After a while, we had a fight when we entered. Li Jinhai sighed feebly. So you came back with a fingerprint on Prince Yama's desk again? Feng Lun really wanted to kill you at that time. Han Qian nodded seriously. Indeed, he wanted me to kill him because he found out that I would not take the path he had prepared for me. Feng Lun said that he and I had similar origins and experiences. He hoped that I could become like him. What could I say? We worked together to lift the black cloth at the Yamen door. Maybe I feel useless. If Kui Li hadn't stopped me, maybe I would have been killed by him. Hey! Snapped. Li Jinhai said angrily after receiving a slap on the shoulder. Do you still have the heart to laugh? If you can't catch Feng Lun tonight, no one knows what will happen when you see Feng Lun again in the future. Han Qian covered his shoulders and muttered softly. You don't know, I know. Either he will die or I will die next time we meet, and I can't refuse his request to meet. Every time Feng Lun forces me to show up, the reason he keeps helping me is because he thinks the conflict between Niu Qiudong and I will make me take some extreme actions. This is what he thinks about. Now that Niu Qiudong is dead, no one can force me, so the next time we meet, he will kill me, or I will kill him. Li Jinhai took a deep breath, gritted his teeth and growled with a livid face. Don't have any worries. I'll support you if something happens. Also, what's going on with that photo on the table? The living room was quiet. Li Jinhai and female detective Xiao Song were sorting out their records. Han Qian was holding a cigarette and pinching the small flowers on Yan Qingqing's sleeves. After about 10 minutes, Chang Jin suddenly spoke. Han Qian, are you driving drunk? Han Qian was stunned for a moment, and then Li Jinhai spoke. The guard said that a young man entered the community with a gun and ID before we went there. We have already checked the surveillance camera. Where did you get the gun? I bought them at a toy store for 15 yuan each. Wen Nuan bought a lot of water guns of various models. Now my family and my mother still have a lot of them. Now Han Qian doesn't even draft any lies. Li Jinhai and Cheng Jin also know that this little brat is lying. Li Jinhai told Han Qian not to touch these things, and then Cheng Jin stepped forward and whispered a few words in Han Qian's ear, and then Han Qian exclaimed. This is okay. Cheng Jin curled his lips and said. Why not? Otherwise, why would you let Xiaohu be by your side in the first place? It's a little difficult for her to protect you, but this can be flexible, do you understand? Han Qian chuckled. I understand. Can I leave now? My two friends are still in the hospital after a surprise. I have to go and take a look. Feng Lun and Kui Li should have left the city. By the way, second uncle, old man, if they are caught, what will be Feng Lun's fate? Mr. Feng Lun, if we catch Feng Lun, there is sufficient evidence that he will be sentenced to death, but if there are no witnesses to accuse him of murder, he should only be lifeless. Kui Li should be around 20 years. After all, there is no evidence that he killed anyone. Even if Go De Peo's death is attributed to him, Kui Li will not be sentenced to death. Cai King Hu gave Han Qian a vague result. Han Qian frowned, held his chin with one hand and whispered. It would be a pity if Feng Lun died. This guy's head is very useful. If it were in ancient times, I would definitely make him a tool around me to calculate others, the kind that is locked in a cage. Hey. Okay, I'll go to the hospital, you two go home and sleep, don't tell anyone what happened tonight, especially my mother, don't tell her about Feng Lun's arrival. After saying this, Yan Qingqing and Cai King Hu stood up and shouted in unison. Where are you going? Han Qian tilted his head and said. I'm going to the hospital. Where else can I go? In King Hu, please give me your car keys. I don't have a car now. Cai King Hu didn't think much, took out the car keys and threw them to Han Qian. The key was snatched away by Chang Jin in mid-air, and he said angrily to Han Qian. Still driving? You don't know how much you drank? Honey, let Xiao Song take you to the hospital. Everyone looked at policewoman Hua. Xiao Song was slightly startled, and then Yan Qingqing and Cai King Hu said no in unison. Cai King Hu wanted to drive Han Qian to the hospital, but her car could only seat 2 people, and Yan Qingqing didn't have a car. After struggling for a while, Chang Jin told them to go home and he sent Han Qian to the hospital. When he was leaving, Chang Jin suddenly turned to look at the 2 girls and frowned. Did you 2 drink too? Xiaohu, write a report and send it over tomorrow, and then restudy subject 1. Yan Qingqing, you are not allowed to drive for a month. The 2 girls nodded repeatedly, and then Han Qian whispered. What about me? You will never drive again in your life. On the way, Chang Jin was driving, and Han Qian was sitting in the passenger seat smoking a cigarette. The city became quiet in the second half of the New Year's Eve, and everyone was tired after being noisy for a day and a half. Han Qian lowered the car window and smoked a cigarette, saying softly. Han Qian took a deep breath and sighed. If he had his way, he wouldn't do this. We don't know what he has been through for 20 years of injustice. No one can guarantee that similar things will not happen in the future. He is just the beginning. Chang Jin stopped the car, opened the door, got out and lit a cigarette. Han Qian also got out of the car, lying on the carport and looking at Chang Jin, smiling. Have a headache? Chang Jin shook his head and said calmly. It's not a headache. I can't control other cities. I am now the parent official of Binhai. In order to prevent this from happening, I have adopted the plan proposed by Lao Niu at the beginning of this year. Tell me. Do it yourself? You may not have the time and experience. Chang Jin closed his eyes and sighed. This matter? I will select a few people to be responsible for this matter. Now I have a suitable candidate. Han Qian took a deep breath and exhaled. Niu Xiahua, right? Considering her guilt towards Niu Qiudong and your care for your old colleague's widow, shouldn't you discuss it with me? After saying this, Han Qian threw the driver's license over and smiled. Lao Cheng, you are engaging in malpractice for personal gain. Chang Jin curled his lips and said. Are you going to report me? I can't guarantee that I will be absolutely fair, but I can give Binhai citizens a reassurance. I, Chang Jin, will support them when they are wronged. But if you do this, you are putting a knife on the necks of Sun Jianmin and others. The entire province may follow suit. Is there any disadvantage? It's just a few more people who hate you. Have you ever thought about it? You're going to sit in Niu Qiudong's seat. The documents will be handed down after the first month, and I will be the mayor and secretary. One shoulder. Chang Jin sighed and got into the car, and then the car sped away. In the hospital, Wan Fang looked at Han Qian with red eyes. Han Qian opened his arms and said with a naive smile. Sister Wan shouldn't be so weak. How is Sigwan? Wan Fang burst into tears and Han Qian panicked and said anxiously. Something happened to her. Wanfang cried and shook her head. No. She's okay, I just want to cry. Han Qian opened his arms and hugged Wanfang and said softly. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Wanfang raised her head and looked at Han Qian with red eyes, choking. We are best friends, right? Feng Lun said you won't care about our lives. Do you believe he farts? In the glass ward, Han Qian stood outside the ward and looked at Wu Sijuan inside. She grinned at Han Qian. Han Qian opened the glass door and walked into the ward, saying softly. How do you feel? Wu Siguan smiled. I don't feel anything. I feel like I had a dream. I can't live in my house anymore, right? Han Qian nodded and whispered. The guy died inside. Wu Siguan took a deep breath and muttered softly. Buy a house, buy a villa, buy a bodyguard. Lu Guangming and the others are expected to come over soon. You can ask him to contact you, Siguan. I can't guarantee that you won't encounter danger in the future, but don't be impulsive when you are in danger. If you are coming for me, just wait quietly for me to go. Brother Qian'er. We are friends. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 854. A large band-aid was put on his head. Han Qian looked at the shaved half of his head in the mirror, his face full of unhappiness. Su Hongchang stood behind him and whispered. Master, why don't you shave them all? Han Qian held his chin and looked at himself in the mirror, frowning. Wouldn't that be too ugly? Su Hongchang lowered his head and continued. It doesn't look good now either. Roll, roll, roll. Su Hongchang turned around and ran, and then the young master's voice came from behind. Go buy a razor. 20 minutes later, Han Qian was sitting at the nurse's station. The head nurse was shaving Han Qian's hair with a scraper. He was laughing while shaving, and Han Qian said angrily. Why are you laughing? I ordered KFC for you, so I won't let you eat if you are laughing. Uncle, I saw your good friend brother go today. He is also bald. You two have a really good relationship. Naughty. Who is this? Come here and give your head nurse a kick in the head. The nurse's station was full of laughter, and then a familiar voice came. Shave my head, too. Han Qian turned around and tilted his head to look at the two guys standing outside the nurse station. The guy in the red suit was stroking his bald head and looking at Han Qian, while Suliang had already taken off his clothes and walked over. Sitting next to Han Qian, he motioned to the nurse station to shave his hair. The head nurse said with a wry smile. Brother Liang. This is not a barber shop. Shouldn't angels grant the wishes of believers? Come on. After saying this, Han Qian smiled and cursed. You idiot, big dog, and I had to shave our heads. Why are you joining in the fun? If you don't know, you'd think the three of us have become monks. In the end, Suliang still didn't shave his hair, and the late-night snack ordered by Han Qian was also delivered. 4 or 5 people stood outside the nurse's station, eating hamburgers and drinking Coke. Han Qian bit off half of the hamburger in one bite and said vaguely. None of the guys understood what it was about. Guan Yunbiao whispered. Qian'er, it's not a problem to let Feng Lun go like this. When I came here, Liang'er and I discussed it. Why don't we make a buckle and kill Feng Lun? Han Qian swallowed hard and shook his head. Don't. We all have wives and children. He has no children or claws. Being a buckler has no advantage for us. Just wait for once. The next time we meet is the time for us to work hard. Kui Li will still be left to you. After saying that, he took out a fried chicken and handed it to Wanfang, saying softly. Si Kwan will be hospitalized for a while, and Yates's leg is not healed yet. The work of both of them may fall on your shoulders. I don't know what the size of your company is now. We will form a team when it is necessary. Wan Fang nodded in agreement, and Han Qian said again. Liang I will be very busy during the first month of the year. I will probably leave at dawn. I'll leave the affairs over there to you. You can also contact that person. You can chat with Lu Guangming and the others later. Su Liang nodded while eating the burger and asked vaguely. It's the first year of junior high school. Whose house are you going to? Director Qian's place. I think I'll be there at dawn. Let's go together. I'll go there in the morning, and I'll probably leave Binhai with Mr. Yan in the afternoon. I'm going to the capital in a while, will you two go? Guan Yunbiao and Su Liang kept shaking their heads, not knowing what in the capital scared them. It was slightly cold. Guan Yunbiao returned to District 8, and Han Qian and Su Liang went to Qian Ling's house. Qian Wan was very happy when he looked at the two brothers carrying gifts. When he saw the band-aid on Han Qian's head and Su Liang's black there were circles under his eyes, Qian Wan said with a frown. Brother Qian why did you fail again? You two didn't sleep all night again, right? Han Qian reached out and pinched Qian Wan's cheek, smiling. It's the Chinese New Year, so I'll be busy. How's your internet celebrity company going? Qian Wan pushed her two brothers to the living room, stood behind the sofa, pressed her brother Qian's bald head with her hands, and whispered. My company is not important. It is just for fun. Brother Qian you don't look good with a shaved head. While talking, Qian Ling went downstairs. The two guys stood up at the same time, bowed neatly and saluted, and said Happy New Year in unison. Qian Ling yawned. Why don't you two sleep more? You came here so early? Huh? What's wrong with your head, Qian Han Qian touched his head and said with a naive smile. I accidentally bumped it and broke a small hole. We were thinking that we didn't come to see you during the Chinese New Year yesterday. We came here early on the first day of the New Year and disturbed your rest. Qian Ling stepped forward and took a look at Han Qian's wounds. Then she took a look at Su Liang's dark circles and sighed. You too. Don't work too hard. I know you work hard, but your health is the most important thing. Liang if you are not busy during the first month of the year, take a good rest. If you don't feel like it at home, bring Lily over to play with Wan so that she won't have to stare at the computer every day. Qian please pay attention to yourself, you are 26 or 7 years old, why are you still acting frizzy like a child? Han Qian scratched his head. After breakfast, the two guys sat on the sofa and chatted with Qian Ling. After chatting, they lay on the sofa and fell asleep. Qian Ling smiled helplessly and signaled everyone in the family was quiet for a moment, took out two thick red envelopes and placed them on the table. It was already 11 o'clock when Han Qian woke up. Looking at the red envelope on the table and Yan Qingqing sitting opposite, Han Qian smiled slightly and woke up Su Liang. When Su Liang sat up, he glanced around. Then seeing the red envelopes on the coffee table, Su Liang thought for a while, picked up the two red envelopes and opened them. 16,000 yuan, and then Su Liang shouted. Come on, ladies and brothers, Director Qian is giving you a bonus. Qian Ling smiled as she listened to the lively sounds on the second floor. Han Qian and Yan Qingqing went out. Looking at Yan Qingqing's Raptor and the gifts on the back seat, Han Qian said softly. Aren't you not allowed to drive? Have you bought all the gifts? Yan Qingqing chuckled. You can still eat me while I'm driving. Qian Dong bought the gifts. There are 3 gifts in total, one for Qian Dong, one for your parents, and one for you. Are you taking a nap? I'm not going to sleep anymore. I'll drive. Just tell me the location. Yan Qingqing didn't have a good rest last night and was indeed not suitable for driving. After telling Han Qian the location, she ran to the back and went to sleep. After driving for more than an hour, Han Qian felt sore in his back and legs when he arrived. He really didn't like this. A large car. After waking up Yan Qingqing, the two went upstairs with the gifts. Han Qian said softly. Should I call you uncle or something else? I've never called you dad, and I can't say it out loud. Yan Qingqing frowned. Call me whatever you like. Can I call you big brother? Yan Qingqing turned her head to look at Han Qian, narrowed her eyes and smiled. Do you want me to call you daddy? Han Qian was stunned for a moment, then smiled. That's a good feeling. Die to me. Making such a joke with Yan Qingqing was just waiting to be beaten. Han Qian kept dodging Yan Qingqing's high heels. While they were having fun, the door of the room opened. Yan Yingying stood at the door and looked at her sister and brother-in-law, saying helplessly. Can you show your affection to a different place? To stimulate me. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 855. When she returned home on the first day of junior high school, the Yan family's parents were very enthusiastic and did not ask about those messy things. Yan Qingqing also confessed to them that all her success today was given to her by Han Qian, and she did not need either of them. Come to intervene, she is already an adult and has the ability to choose her own happiness. Yan Yingying surrounded Han Qian and looked at this smooth big head. Brother-in-law, don't say that your head was beaten by my sister, although I believe it, but... Yan Qingqing picked up the orange on the table and threw it at Yan Yingying, and said with disgust. Go away, didn't you say you couldn't go home to celebrate the new year this year? If I had known you would come back, I would have come back in a few days. Yan Yingying narrowed her eyes and smiled. At first, I really couldn't come back. They didn't give me a holiday when I first joined the army. But I couldn't help but think that my brother-in-law was capable and they gave me face. I had 4 days off and went back in the evening of the 2nd grade. Brother-in-law, see if you can ask Zhao Hanqing to give it to me. Transfer to another position, the current position is too tiring. Han Qian stretched out his hand to push Yan Yingying's forehead and smiled. What's wrong with the department now? Haven't you been transferred to a civilian position? You don't have to get up early or go out to work. Brother-in-law, civil service is too boring, I want to go. Yan Yingying, shut up. Before she finished speaking, Yan Qingqing interrupted Yan Yingying, and her sister-in-law stared at her sister unhappily and said angrily. What are you doing? Yan Qingqing frowned. Your brother-in-law had a very unpleasant quarrel with Zhao Wanggu last time. You are working as a civil servant with peace of mind. After training for a few years, you can go to glory to help me. Help you? Am I crazy? You should just bully my brother-in-law. I won't take the blame. Oops. Why did Zhao Hanqing come to me this time and say he would give me a holiday? Brother-in-law, does he owe you a favor? Han Qian chuckled. It's not a favor. Even if there is nothing between us, he still has to let you go home for the new year. It's hard work in the army, but it trains people. When you want to leave someday, tell your brother-in-law that he will find something fun for you. Things to do. I know you are the best brother-in-law. Why don't you stop being with my sister and I'll introduce you to some military beauties. As soon as she said this, Yan Qingqing grabbed Yan Yingying's hair and forcibly dragged her aside and threw her on the sofa. Yan's father looked at the 3 children with a smile. Seeing that the little girl was not causing trouble, Yan's father said. Why did you hurt your head? Han Qian lowered his head and said softly. I met 2 mentally retarded lunatics and accidentally injured them, so I simply shaved off all my hair. Is your uncle doing well recently? Father Yan nodded and smiled. It's good. Before the new year, I wanted to go with your aunt to visit your parents. I heard that your dad was hospitalized. Ching Ching wouldn't let us go because he was afraid of causing trouble to you. Han Qian quickly explained. Don't listen to King King's nonsense. What can I be busy with? I went to the capital once a year ago, and then something happened to my family, so I didn't have much to do. As soon as she finished speaking, Yan Yingying leaned forward, took out a pack of cigarettes and threw it to Han Qian, and asked mysteriously. Brother-in-law, I heard something in the army. It was said that after you went to the capital, someone in Binhai deliberately targeted you, saying that Sister Yate's injury was all because of you. Yan Qingqing glared at Yan Yingying and gritted her teeth. Is it going to kill you if you don't speak? Why are you gossiping so much? Yan Yingying lowered her mouth and whispered. Aren't I curious, sister, tell me, Binhai was very chaotic during that time. I heard that all the big bosses in the province went to Binhai, and Sun Zhenmin even stayed in Binhai. Oh. Also, Niu Qiudong committed suicide. Listening to what Yan Yingying said, Yan Qingqing stood up, grabbed her sister's collar and dragged her into the bedroom. The sisters left, and Yan's father put the ashtray towards Han Qian. Bian pushed and said softly. Is it really what Yingying said? Someone is targeting you. Han Qian smoked a cigarette and nodded, speaking softly. It's the people over at Changxiang who are stumbling upon me. They did a little trick to bully me when I was no longer in Binhai. It's not a big problem, but it's just a little more troublesome. It's not as evil as what Yingying said. Father Yan breathed a sigh of relief, then smiled. As long as it's okay, you have a lot of messy things going on today. I won't ask anything else about you and Ching Ching. When will you let me be your grandpa? Ah. The sudden words frightened Han Qian so much that he dropped the cigarette butts in his hand, and Yan's father said calmly. Your aunt is embarrassed to ask about you too, Han Qian. When we return home, the two of us are almost engaged. What's the point of being embarrassed? Let me say it first. I don't care whether you two get married or not, but it's time to have a child. Ching Ching is already 29 years old, it's dangerous to have a child after the age of 30. Han Qian scratched his head in embarrassment and whispered. I don't like children very much. Ching Ching doesn't have time to take care of children. My mother's body. I'll take care of you. I brought up both Ching Ching and Yingying. It's okay if you don't like it. I like children. After you have children, you can do whatever you like. Do you hear me? I'll give you 1 year. If there is no movement in King King's belly, I will go find your parents and have a good chat. I'll try my best, okay? It's not about trying your best, it's a must. Han Qian. Aren't you also afraid that your aunt and I will force you to marry Ching Ching? You decide for yourself. After dinner at Yan's father's house in the afternoon, Han Qian was also drunk by Yan Yingying, so he could only stay here for the night. At night, I was lying on the same bed with Yan Qingqing. They should be in love, but they suddenly felt like an old couple. Each person had a quilt, Qingqing was reading a book, and Han Qian was leaning on the bedside, thinking about life. It went on like this for half an hour without disturbing anyone. Yan Qingqing put down her book and got into bed and turned off the bedside lamp. Han Qian suddenly spoke. Your father said that we should have a child. I can probably understand what he means. The marriage certificate has no binding force, and our marriage will have an impact on the company shares in your hands. Yan Qingqing turned over and looked at Han Qian and said softly. What impact? Han Qian said with a strange expression. That is to say, if we get divorced, I will divide some of it. I think your father wants to tie us up with the child. Even if we separate one day and have a child, your company's property will be given to us. Child, if you are in trouble, I will definitely take action, that's probably what I mean. Yan Qingqing sat up and said calmly. So? You want to have a child with me now? You don't seem to like children, right? You have to have it even if you don't like it? Your dad is right, it's not safe for you after you are 30. Here? Now. You okay? I should be fine. Let's talk when we go back to Binhai. After saying that, Yan Qingqing took a deep breath, got off the bed in her nightgown, opened the door and kicked her leg without even looking. Then Yan Yingying's screams reached Han Qian's ears, and Han Qian closed his eyes and fell into deep sleep. Take a breath. It seems that it really won't work tonight. Han Qian slept deeply. The two of them slept separately before going to bed. When they woke up in the morning, they fell into bed without knowing why. Han Qian raised his hand carefully, and Yan Qingqing spoke. I've been touching it all night. Is it soft? Han Qian said with a smile. Instinct, can't, man's instinct.